Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners, our special meeting of May 24th, 2012. I'd like to extend an apology for those of you who have been waiting. I want to welcome everyone, and Barbara, could you please call the roll?
We have Commissioners Moss, Noonan, and Parfrey present.
Thank you. Just want to make this announcement that this session of the Commission is being recorded for broadcast on Channel 35, and the exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. And I just would like to get this meeting started. So looking at the agenda, Barbara, can you call our first agenda item?
Item number 2, report briefing by the General Manager.
Thank you, Commissioners. There's an introduction I would like to make here for you today. We have been without a Director of Energy Efficiency since November of last year, November of 2011. And as we will be discussing further later in the agenda today, we have a major plan for proposing for consideration by this board a very significant increase in our energy efficiency programs. So not only is it going to be helpful to have filled the position of the Director of Energy Efficiency, we will be looking to add some additional staff to be able to undertake that as well. We undertook a broad search to find the right person for this, and we found a lot of solid candidates, but far and above, I'm pleased to announce that our new Director of Energy Efficiency will be David Jaco, who's here today. He will be starting June 11th. And David comes to us after a decade of experience in energy efficiency at Southern California Edison. He was manager of business portfolio within their customer energy efficiency and solar division. He will be here with us today, and I'll let him describe his background in a little bit more detail, but David is a registered professional mechanical engineer. He has a lot of experience even prior to his tenure at Southern California Edison. He's done a lot of what we're ramping up to do here in terms of identifying programs, laying out their cost effectiveness, prioritization of them, determining how we better interface with customers, and getting those programs done, what it takes internal to the utility to administer, plan, and engineer and budget for these programs, and then assure their delivery and evaluate their performance. So he comes to us with great experience, and as we ramp up, he couldn't be coming on soon enough for our liking. So with that, I'd like to bring David up here just to make a few comments.
Great, thank you, Ron. As you know, I'm David Jaco, the new Director of Energy Efficiency for the department, starting June 11th. I'm very excited to be here. I've been with Edison for 9 years, and before that I was a mechanical and plumbing design engineer, also doing energy modeling for new construction. And I love energy efficiency. Through my career, I've really come to love energy efficiency and everything that can be accomplished through energy efficiency. Energy efficiency is a very cost-effective, low-cost, elegant way to achieve a lot of policy objectives that are difficult to achieve on their own. It helps customers save money, and it reduces their bills, which is great for our low-income customers and our struggling small businesses. It also helps our environmental targets, such as reducing greenhouse gas emissions and meeting our AB 32 targets. It helps us with energy scarcity and helps us with energy efficiency. And it also helps with green job creation. So I'm very excited to be part of this, and I'm extremely excited to see that the department is embracing energy efficiency as such a key component of its long-term procurement strategy that'll bring all those benefits I described to the city, to the citizens, to the department. And finally, I'm honored, and I'm just thrilled to be part of this and help this department bring this vision to life. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you for your efficient and economical comments.
And that's all I have for General Manager's report.
Thank you. And at this time, what I would like to do is see if we can't dispatch some of our DWP employees who may have items that are on the consent calendar. And I would like to ask my fellow commissioners if they have, they want to pull the following items, items 5, 6, 7, 9, or 10.
Yes, I do, but I don't know which numbers to tell you yet. One moment. I would like to pull item 7.
All right.
Item 6.
All right.
Item 5. And that's it.
All right. So that leaves agenda items 9 and 10. Commissioner Noonan, do you have a motion, or would you wish to pull any of those items?
8 is also available there.
I understand, but there are speaker cards for that.
All right.
I move to move forward with 9 and 10.
Second.
All right, seeing no objections, items 9 and 10 pass, and so those DWP employees that were waiting around to testify on those items, you may go. Now, moving on, we would like to take a few items out of order, please. We would like to take item number 14 first, which concerns our new energy, our proposed energy efficiency program at the department. And so, Mr. Sedlacek, are you making the presentation?
We will. I just want to make some brief introductory remarks before Mark gets into the details of this presentation. And just as a reminder, the board adopted an energy efficiency target and level in December based on an energy efficiency potential study that was completed in March of last year. The target of that, as was acknowledged by this board, was really not satisfactory to you, and you had asked us to come back and look at looking at something that at least complies with the spirit, if not the law, of Assembly Bill 2021, and revisit that. And we're doing just that here today. So we're going to review something I wanted to kind of put in context here is that we want to review both the recommended near-term actions that we're taking, and with some specifics around the budget for that, and then a longer-term target. And we're kind of splitting this into two considerations. We want you to recognize the fact that there is an increase in the energy efficiency plan in our budget that will affect our fiscal 12-13, which Mark will explain, and when we get into the budget, Phil Leiber, our CFO, will explain further. And it also is reflected in the second year of our proposed rate plan, which is out being reviewed right now. There's no action on that today. I just wanted to make it clear that the types of things that we're talking about here are actually different than numbers that we had presented to you, both in the preliminary budget that was presented and forwarded down for council review, as well as different than what was originally laid out in what we presented to you as our proposed rate plan for the next 2 fiscal years. So Mark will be presenting this new plan and a high review of some of the other minor rate effects of that increment, so that we have a better context for that. And then later, Phil will be presenting our budget for fiscal year 12-13, and he'll focus in more specifically on what the budget considerations are for that. So I just want to point of making this out. You're going to be asked to take an action on a resolution that will later be reflected in some expectations and what we're going to be talking about in the budget as well. So it's kind of it's a two-for approach here today. Just want to explain that nexus. With that, let me turn it over to Mark.
I'll just give a high-level overview like Ron mentioned. In terms of energy use for the city of Los Angeles, commercial is our largest component, 57%. Residential is 33%. Industrial is 10%. One thing I do need to clarify is that this report that you're looking at and reviewing will not be submitted to the CEC, but the information will be used in the report as a basis for a future submittal to the CEC under AB 2021. So in December 2011, like Ron mentioned, the board adopted an 8.6% goal based on a March 2011 energy efficiency potential study. After further evaluation, we believe we can go beyond that, go to 10%. So what we need to do is complete by mid-2013 a new potential study that looks at achieving 10%, 12.5%, and 15%. And the other component that needs to be integrated is looking at peak load reduction and demand response into the program. And in terms of our direction, energy conservation leads to job creation. David mentioned some of that. We're looking at a stronger focus for all of our programs, new programs that, thank you, that reflect the City of Los Angeles and just general options for our industrial customers and creating green jobs for our city and getting stakeholder participation. Looking at where we've been for this fiscal year and our future years, our budget for this year is about $55 million. We're going up to $128 million next year, and Phil will talk about that more, and $139 million the next year. So there's a significant increase in terms of the program overall. What do we need to do? What gets us to 10 to 15% conservation? Increasing program offerings across the board for commercial customers, looking at retro-commissioning as a long-term offering, looking at innovation, investing in industry where industrial customers can pursue large system changes, and a new major element is working more closely with LA Unified in the schools. We'll also be looking at expanding our income qualified and multifamily program and adding incentives for our rebates program. And then the new components being used in other areas is behavioral programs. So we'd work with customers and seeing what we can do from sort of a regional area or local area to just encourage energy conservation. And in terms of what we're going to do for our commercial customers is we need to keep the current programs we have in place for large commercial customers, lighting, chiller, HVAC, and bring back programs that we had before for the smaller customers, such as tune-up and lighting too, and for HVAC. The retro-commissioning is going to be another critical element we're looking at, of looking at old buildings. What can we do to bring them back to what they were originally? And in terms of investing in industry, one of the things we can look at is looking at it from a broader standpoint, from system changes for the overall customer. And these are long lead, large projects that involve quite a bit of time and effort. And an example, too, is Praxair. What we've done out there, just with them, we've reduced energy consumption over 18 million kilowatt hours. And again, I mentioned before, the new program is working with LA Unified and partnering. They're our biggest customer with 800 schools, representing over 1.5% of the average annual load. And there can be a lot that can be done to work with them overall to reduce their load. So it benefits both LA Unified and DWP. And with residents, income qualified, and the multifamily program, we've had programs in the past. This will become a long-term program to work with them and seeing what we can do to work with the individual customers. And the other part, and this is going to be a pilot program, is working with looking at the Energy Upgrade California program. The gas company has already worked with other utilities, other municipal utilities, and we're looking at doing something similar. So we leverage our rebates along with what other utilities are doing. And this will be something in 2012, 2013. And the behavior I'll talk about a little bit is really what can we do to encourage people generally to reduce their electricity consumption. And one of the things is work with the customers providing individual usage data reports, and then what is happening in the area, you know, who is the sort of the most efficient customer in their area, and then partnering with other city departments and looking at a more formal customer community education campaign. And the recommendations for, you know, our residential customers, we have the existing programs in place. The new programs, we're either expanding them, AC tune-up, home electronics, education and outreach, and income qualified. So it's just really expanding upon what's been done. And for commercial, again, we have the existing programs in place. The new programs include retro-commissioning, LA Unified, expanding Lighting Direct, and Custom Performance Plus, which is really helping our large customers look at what they can do in terms of their general mechanical equipment in their facilities. And what are we doing? What do we need to get to this point? So we can, based on the information we have, we can expand our program to achieve more than 10%. And right now, DWP is recommending a target of 15% by 2020. And I mentioned at the beginning, Really, to make all this work is that additional potential study needs to be completed in order to look long-term. But we do have a roadmap for the next 2 years of what we're going to accomplish, and based on that information and the potential study, then we can roll it out and go forward to 2020. And that's just the high-level summary.
Do we have some inquiries from our commissioners, or would you prefer to wait for the public testimony?
Well, I think let's wait.
All right. So Barbara, I assume there's some speaker cards?
Yes, there are.
And Mark, just to be sure, this concludes your presentation?
This concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes. The first speaker is Evan Gillespie, and after that, Kristen Eberhard.
I never get to go first. I appreciate this. Thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it. This is really exciting to see, and I just want to take a second to recognize the fact that one of the first things I ever heard General Manager Nichols say when he took this job was that energy efficiency should be the foundation of the energy program here at DWP, and that we really can do more. And this presentation today reflects a sustained commitment that we're really excited to see. The budget is a great first step, and the commitment not just to funding these programs, but to funding them in ways that lead to really critical outcomes, to increase jobs across the city, to reduce our dependence on dirty fossil fuels like coal or natural gas, and to expand opportunities for customers across every customer class, whether it be businesses, high-income earners, low-income earners, to make sure that everybody has access to greater to these programs to achieve greater savings. So this is all really, really encouraging. Couple things just to consider here. First off, with this renewed investment should come an increased commitment to energy savings, and so we really, really recommend that you move forward with the 15% target. We think it's essential with this new money. You can easily, as a foundation, achieve 15% over the next 8 to 9 years, and so we encourage the board to adopt the 15% target. Second of all, with this new investment, we hope that you will provide greater reporting to make sure that the money is being spent well and it's delivering the outcomes that we've seen here today. So making sure that money is being spent cost effectively, that we're creating the good jobs that we intend to create, that we are achieving the savings that we intend to do it, and that we're evaluating programs to make sure that if we have programs that are really successful, putting more money into those programs, and if they're programs that are less successful, that we're looking at how to improve those programs and make sure that they get back on track. So some sort of reporting system. I know that the department reports monthly on its RPS, and so at minimum some sort of quarterly or 6-month reporting on achieving these savings and how we're making progress on this program is really essential, and so we encourage the board to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Kristen Eberhard, and after that, Shelley Billick.
Good afternoon. Kristen Eberhard from NRDC. I'm very excited to see the commitment that LADWP is making to energy efficiency, and I just want to thank the board for asking staff to go back and take a second look, and thank Ron Nichols and Mark and all the staff for your efforts in taking a second look at this and coming back with a really ambitious program. As we know, energy efficiency is the cheapest and cleanest resource available, so this budget has the potential to save customers money and create good jobs and move us off of coal, which are all great things that LA wants. But in order to really fulfill the promise of this budget, I do urge you to adopt the 15% goal that staff set out as a recommended target. I know that the minimum 10% is being conservative and sort of making sure that we don't overpromise. But I think the 15% target is something that will match the leadership and ambition you're showing with the budget to the goal. And another reason for reaching out and setting that 15% goal is something that we know from our experience with energy efficiency with other utilities and with LADWP's own programs, is that the more you do, the cheaper it gets. So if you do 1 megawatt hour of savings and maybe it costs you $1, if you do 100 megawatt hours of savings, it doesn't cost $100, it actually costs less. Because the upfront costs of getting your programs going, getting people trained, once you really hit your stride, you can actually get more for less. So saying, with $128 million in the first year, maybe, we have a slightly lower goal. But if we're really looking out to 2020, we know that with that $128 million, if we sustain that every year, year after year, we can really definitely get to that 15%. So I urge taking on that goal by 2020. And then also just a report back to the board and to the public so that we can see how these programs are going. So I'd recommend a quarterly report that reflects the metrics in the annual report that you already do for CEC, so it's not too much of an extra burden on staff, that you're already kind of reflecting what you have to do for CEC anyway, and just doing it quarterly so we can see how it's going. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Shelley Billick, and after that, Michelle Gararian.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to make some public comments to the commissioners, General Manager Ron Nichols, and the rest of the public. My name is Shelley Billick, and I've been an energy efficiency and sustainability practitioner for 20 years, and I've seen firsthand that energy efficiency is a very key part of our way into a better economy, into a healthier future, into better education. And I'm here to support item number 14 and the energy efficiency goals that you have set, and the 15% goal by 2020. I particularly want to support an item, an element that was just presented, the LAUSD part of this program. And I'm here to support the some of the work that has been done in analysis for the potential. We've looked at, for example, just HVAC in about a little more than half the schools, so about 496 schools. And we've calculated a potential savings of 88 million kilowatt hours. That's 88 megawatts. And that savings alone, an annual savings, can total $12.7 million for LAUSD. And that's a very conservative calculation. That's not looking at phantom loads. That's just HVAC units, not lighting, not water, et cetera. It also addresses peak load reduction, which is part of the energy efficiency goal. So it's a way to target, a way to get this goal going with your single largest customer, the LAUSD. But even more, I want to draw your attention to the potential for the educational element of including our students in accounting for equipment, in learning to look at their energy usage, the behavioral benefits, really the long-term systemic change that can happen when we involve so many millions of students and their families to learn about the importance of energy efficiency. So it's an immediate way to get us going and to be one of the cleanest and healthiest cities in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Michelle Gararian, and after that, Kent Minalt.
It's Michelle Garakian. Oh, thank
Sorry.
you. My name is Michelle Garakian. I represent the LA Business Council. We represent over 350 top industry leaders in the city of Los Angeles. We've been before this board many times, speaking on behalf of solar issues, solar feed-in tariff, energy efficiency. In the past few months, LABC has had the pleasure, actually in the past few years, the LABC has had the pleasure of sponsoring many workshops with the DWP and the Southern California Gas Company on energy efficiency for our major customers in Los Angeles and actually in the Los Angeles region. We are pleased to see that the programs listed today reflect the workshop feedback, and we look forward with working with the DWP on developing these programs. Further, these programs would allow the DWP to work more collaboratively with other utilities in the region, such as the gas company and Edison, so that large customers can fully maximize their energy efficiency programs. And as you know, LA's large customers, their commercial customers, often bear the brunt of increased energy prices. And so we believe that obviously it's imperative for DWP to continue to increase its goals so it allows them to have more energy savings. We do support the revised energy efficiency goals. And as you move forward on implementing this portfolio, we ask that you make a commitment to create programs that are accessible for the customer, that are cost effective, and can be clearly evaluated and measured by all stakeholders. Going from roughly 50 million to almost 130 for energy efficiency is a positive commitment, and we're happy to support it today. Though, We praise this department's increased energy efficiency proposal to help LA businesses mitigate rising energy costs. We urge them to implement these programs in a manner that is affordable to the ratepayer and cost-effective. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Kent Minalt, and after that, Michael Winters.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for this. I'm speaking from the Beyond Coal campaign. I'm very happy to see this new embrace of energy efficiency here. The last time I was talking here, and other people from Beyond Coal and our partners in Repower LA, we heard about the necessity for a rate increase because of necessary upgrades in infrastructure. And many of us stood here and said, well, how much more of a rate increase would it take to bring us up to and perhaps beyond the 10% mandated by the state of California? And you all have responded beautifully to the challenge. I really appreciate your coming back with this plan, which certainly comes right back with a proposal, exactly what the public has been asking you for. I particularly want to support item number 1 here. It says LADWP's new direction, energy conservation leads to job creation. Number 1, stronger focus on customers for all programs. And I really am glad that you put that number 1, because one of the greatest sources of energy savings is going to be customer buy-in. The idea that the people who pay utility bills will buy into a citywide energy program and see that it can really benefit them, and how well you're able to maintain communication with customers so that people who put in a cool roof, for example, and then have to wait several months before they get their rebate check, and when they call about it, call an 800 number and then get an electronic series of confusing electronic prompts, that will inhibit the degree to which energy efficiency is realized. And if they can quickly call up a knowledgeable and friendly person who can help them through the process and get them to the result, that will make energy efficiency happen a lot faster. So anyway, thank you very much for this. I strongly support stronger focus for customers on the programs. Great work.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Okay, the last speaker for number 14 is Michael Winters.
Well, my name is Michael Winters. I'm an educator, been involved in energy for over 20 plus years, private sector and then public sector, being an educator. I'm here to really thank DWP for doing something that at the state level, the CPUC, working on the workforce education and training program for the 2030, 30% reduction on IOUs, and then of course the California Energy Commissioner working with municipals in regards to that, seem to have forgotten how important K-12 is in regards to the customer base of what's gone on. Having worked in the classroom for over 12 plus years, understanding the dynamics and the cuts, specifically with what's going on with the crisis of Los Angeles Unified School District, I think it's awesome that you have made that decision to work specifically with the school. It will save a number of jobs. The energy efficiency piece will, through the energy conservation numbers that have been set already, 88 megawatts in one particular project that's already seen a life cycle analysis in an investment grade Department of Energy analysis. Actually, the number can reach up to 193 megawatts, and that would include things such as behavioral change through the education programs, as well as through service learning, addressing vampire loads, engaging a great workforce, which are students that are really desiring to be empowered. Some of the other dynamics about this project that are important is there's some opportunities to create local hire to do retrofits in various different energy efficiency processes in a way to keep the maintenance and operations people within the LAUSD family still working. So we can maintain existing staff without laying off people, potentially several hundred in maintenance and operations alone, additionally impacting at least possibly up to 200 teachers as well through the energy conservation and savings. One thing that I'd like to put into perspective, though, is the water energy nexus. I like the idea that, Ron, you put that in, and we're not even talking about the water side of things. Let me give you a couple statistics. For every steam generated kilowatt hour it takes 17.1 gallons of water to cool the equipment. So if you take that number, besides just the 0.463 gallons of water to actually generate that kilowatt hour, just the 88 megawatts will save about 5,100 acre-feet of water. As another side effect to that, what is the benefit there? Number one, the $60 million LADWP pays Metropolitan Water District for excess water. If you can eliminate 5,100 acre-feet of water, that's going to be very significant. The other interesting thing is most of LAUSD's water is sewage charges as well, because they haven't differentiated their irrigation from their actual buildings. And so now we can see a reduction actually in some of the water projects potentially doing that as well. So I'd like to continue to ask this commission to look at the water side as well as the energy side. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to go through more extensive numbers. Thank you very much.
If I may, Mr. Winters, I have a quick question. I've heard anecdotally that some of the HVAC systems are actually not on the roof of classrooms at LAUSD. Maybe you know about this, and that some of those systems are actually in the classroom. And from what I understand, that poses a problem for the kids to have a quality education.
Grant High School performed a study 3 years ago. A group of high school students went around, identified, I think it was about 60 plus units exactly in that case. And Prop BB in 1998 instituted a $235 million project for 9,500 retrofit air conditioners into pre-existing classrooms before 2000, before 1980. Those particular situations have now increased into a situation where they've been installed for about 3,000 plus of them have been installed for 13, 14, 15 years. Typical life cycle of those units is approximately 10 years. So they're already on that situation. Currently, LAUSD in their general fund doesn't have the money to be able to retrofit those out, so they're basically living on borrowed time in regards to that. That's where this number for 88 megawatts of energy comes in. The nice thing about a project like this is it reduces the sound impaired that's happening with those in-classroom mounted units. And it could be a very significant multi-year project that would be very value added for both LADWP and LAUSD.
All right. Thank you. Are there additional speakers?
That was the last speaker card.
I'd like to turn to my fellow commissioners. Do you have some questions for staff?
I do. I applaud the goals and the programs that you've outlined, and I believe adamantly that this is the right direction for Los Angeles and that we will realize savings long term. But I'd like more information about how we're going to fund these immediate investments going forward into 2014 as you outlined with those numbers. How did you come about those numbers? Will other existing programs be sacrificed to allow for these investments to take place?
I'll give you a high level on that. If we drill in further, some of this will be addressed as we get into the budget side, but specifically, we have, and you'll see that we're looking at about a 0.2% per year higher rate adjustment than we were talking about in the budget that we presented to you earlier. So we're going from the roughly $87 million a year to about $128 million a year. That's what that rate increase is. We are capitalizing these programs, as we've talked before about, sort of spreading out the cost, because we consider this the same as an investment in a power plant. It's an investment in a non-power plant. And so for that reason, it makes it more cost effective. It does spread it out over time, but we believe it's a good investment to make. It does not cut into any other programs. We're not reducing other things in our budget that you've seen to accommodate this. This is an add, and it is a slight increase. And we've gone through and developed, I know we don't have an awful lot of detail that's presented in the budget on here. We've gone through on a program-by-program basis and increased these on a level that we think matches cost effectiveness across the board. Some of them are more cost effective than others, but on net, we're very comfortable with the overall cost efficiency as well as the energy efficiency that comes out of that. If you would like to drill into some more detail, we could probably have a separate board discussion on the topic to come in, drill down in more detail. I do want to make one point, though, that may not be perfectly clear, and that is we've laid out a specific plan for 2 years right now that we're presenting. And we've done that and increased that in a level because we're comfortable, based on the energy efficiency potential study that was done before, that we can scale up some programs that were evaluated before. And we've added in a couple of other programs that we got feedback on that energy efficiency potential study from some of our customers and stakeholders. Our comfort level for a more detailed program to get us up to 15%, we believe we can get there, but you deserve a more detailed explanation of how we get there in those out years. What we didn't want to do is wait for getting, frankly, a better study than was done, a more definitive study than was done last year, and it's just something we're going to drill in more deeply than we have before. That's going to take the rest of this fiscal year to go through the RFP process and get that done. And we wanted to take a no regrets approach that said, get this done, get moving. Let's not be in a situation where we're continuing to underperform in energy efficiency and lose those opportunities, particularly in an economy that we're at right now. So we're comfortable that we can go forward on this level. We've laid out what both the budget, and we'll talk a little bit more about what those rate effects are, and then allows us to not lose that time while we develop a more definitive plan as to what exactly would that multi-year program be beyond this to get to that 15% by 2020. So you can then adopt something on a programmatic basis in much more detail than we're talking about today.
Right. Well, one more question. I found the retro commissioning program especially interesting and exciting. And you do reference a program that was piloted. Could you speak briefly about the results, your findings on that program?
I'm not quite sure we have the person here today that could give you the details on that program. We are looking at a retro commissioning program that's on the order of $4 million a year. So we have a total of $93 million for our non-residential program. We're looking at about a $4 million a year piece of that for this next year, and then looking at the prospect of ramping that up in subsequent years. I would be happy to get you some more information on the results of our current pilot on that, and then what we do to expand upon that. But I don't have those details here today.
That'd be great. I'd also like to just have a better understanding about what kind of rebates are being offered in that capacity. Thank you.
Mr. Moss?
Hi. Thank you. I have a number of questions about the program in no particular order or actually categorized in no particular way. But let me just throw them at you.
Sure.
What I understood you to say is there's about a 20 basis point increase in the fee rating or the rate increase request that we're going to be making for the next 2 years.
Average across all customers, right?
Right, for the next 2 years.
Right.
Does that get us, after the end of the 2 years, does that get us to the 10% level that we're shooting for?
On track for the 10%.
No. I want to know if we achieve the 10%.
Well, generally speaking, we need to be getting on average. We have 8 years to get to 2020, right? So on average, you would have to be 1.25% per year to do that. This gets us in those 2 years an average of about 1.25% per year in the next 2 years. So this gets us to that level at least. So that, like I said, this goes back to the no regrets policy. This gets us to that level. Then we're going to be evaluating. We know that to get up to 15%, we're going to have to be more than 1.25% per year average in the subsequent years.
Do we know what it's going to cost in terms of rate structure over the next few years to get to the 10% level? Do we have that number projected?
We have ballpark numbers on that. We're just to be clear, and a little ahead into some of the budget rate discussion, but I'm happy to do that. We're looking at 0.2% per year average, so a total of about 0.4% by the end of 2 years to get to this level. Going above and beyond that as we go more deeply into some of these things, we anticipate there'll be a slightly higher cost as you penetrate further and further into these. Well, one of the commentators here indicated that as you're doing programs more broadly, they're more cost effective. That's very true with regard to your overall administration costs, your engineering costs, your budgeting, your customer outreach. If you're doing more, that gets more efficient at some point in time. By the same token, the deeper you drill into those opportunities, they can tend to get a little higher cost per kilowatt hour. There's still headroom for us to be a higher cost per kilowatt hour than these levels here in the future, and still have it be cost effective. The reason that we haven't gone beyond, and I'm not giving you more detail, beyond those 2 years is we really need to do a better job to make certain that as we establish a deeper program, penetrate further, and potentially expand into other measures that aren't in these first 2 years, that we're doing the most cost-effective things first. So we owe it to you to come back and give you a more granular look at that. And to, while I'm comfortable that we can get to this level at a price point that ultimately works, I want to present to you. We have a target out there. I want to come back and present to you with the benefit of a much better energy efficiency potential study, deeper one, that gives you a lot more information and breaks that down into years 6 through 10.
No, I think that's fair. You mentioned the cost per kilowatt hour as a cost of the energy efficiency programs. What is the cost per kilowatt hour under what we're being asked to approve right now? Let's say the 128 million.
All in, it's an average of a little over 5 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay, and how does that benchmark against our neighboring utilities? Are they all at about 5% per kilowatt hour? Have we done that sort of benchmarking?
We have some of that information. I don't have it here at the tips of my fingers right now. Generally speaking, I believe that these levels are competitive with what other utilities are in Southern California are pursuing. But I
don't want to put you on the spot. Do you think you could get back to the board with that information?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm very pleased by the ambitiousness of the program that Mark presented. I think it's very exciting. And as a ratepayer who pays a fairly good amount to the DWP, I know the benefits of energy efficiency, and I support them. However, I am a little concerned. Maybe it's just because of the sort of 30,000-foot level of the presentation, but it seems like we're setting up a program that are all things to all people. And there's a finite amount of money that we have to devote to this. So what I want to kind of drill down a little bit is what's the strategic focus of the program for the next year or so, and then or maybe the next 2 years. What are the most cost-effective energy efficiency programs that we have? Where are the dollars going, and what are the priorities?
Well, I can hit that at a high level. I don't know, Mark, if you want to. Why don't you provide? I'll let Mark drill into it.
Well, also David Jaco is starting on June 11th, so on the 12th we could get a report back.
A full report. A full report will be evaluated in great detail with footnotes and dependencies.
PowerPoints and pretty pictures.
But no pressure, David.
Let's get easier. So just hitting the main points. For the $128 million, we're looking at around $28 million for residential, and then the non-residential is $93 million.
How much of that is LAUSD?
And again, these are preliminary numbers right now, but LAUSD is $10.5 million for the next fiscal year.
Okay. And in the programs, are there energy audits that are a component to all this, that you will go out to customers, meet with customers, perform audits on their facilities, their homes, their factories, that sort of thing?
Yes, that's what we continue to do.
Yeah, we have a technical assistance program that does that, as well as part of our outreach is to go out and provide some of those services as well, some of our custom programs. Can add a little bit more granularity on that. Of that residential, of that $28 million in residential, about $12 million of that is multifamily and low-income oriented customers as part of that. On the non-residential side, it's about $93 million in the non-residential side. About $36 million of that is direct install lighting, and about $20 million of that is commercial lighting, our commercial lighting rebate program on that. Lighting in the commercial side is the biggest bang for the buck. Right now, where we have invested, or more maybe importantly, where we haven't invested as a utility right now. And that's why the point is, as we get deeper into that, the priorities change in terms of what's more cost effective as we go through some of these programs. We're confident in these first 2 years that there's good depth and opportunities of our customers at these budget levels.
Now, at least one of the speakers touted the fact that energy efficiency programs can create green jobs. They're job promoting. I think even in the board materials that we were given, there was some reference to that. So next year, how many jobs are going to be created by this program?
You know, I don't have a hard number for you on that, on the jobs on this. It is one of the things that we're looking at. And one of the things I think it's important to recognize here is, rather than give an academic number to you, to be blunt, we're scaling up energy efficiency at a level that hasn't happened in Los Angeles before. As I said, I'm comfortable and confident at this being cost effective, and we can certainly drill into some more detail if there's a desire to do that. We can do that and provide another discussion topic to go into these things in some more detail. But at the same time, as we go through this, we believe we know what the estimates are. We'll know exactly what our costs have been and be able to go back and say, here's what our budgets were by program. And then empirically, at the end of the year and then into the next year, we'll know what we've invested. There's a little bit of a lag time in terms of what your actual customer savings are on, and sometimes getting that information back. But we'll know not only confirming that cost effectiveness, but we'll have better information for you then on the jobs. So it's not an academic study of estimating what the jobs are. We'll be able to tell you what the jobs were associated with that. And then based on the information that we have a much, much better basis to then say, based on these programs and these investments, here's what the job creation will be over a decade-long effort.
Okay. You would think that we rehearsed this conversation before the meeting, which I can assure everyone we didn't, but you're segueing right into my next point, which is the comments that some of the speakers had about the reporting back to the board and the transparency of the program as the program's rolling out. So what are you willing to commit to the board in terms of reporting about matters such as job creation or cost effectiveness of programs, the kilowatt hour cost of the different programs?
Well, I'd like to, there was a comment made by one of the commentators here in the audience that I'd like to make a differentiation. When we do renewable energy, we know what we get from renewable energy because it's metered. I mean, it's directly metered. We invest in it or we enter into a contract in it, it comes back and we know the second, basically, literally, or certainly within the month when we pull that information together, we know what we got. When we make investments in energy efficiency, you don't have that instant information back. We'll have a program and we'll budget a program, and unlike a circumstance where we go out and put a wind turbine in or put a solar panel out or develop geothermal, our customer has to partner with us. So we can have a program and we can have an intake of information. They have to go then, we work with them to have it installed in their home or their business. So we can have a plan, and it might vary month by month, quarter by quarter, from what our overall plan is, depending upon how the customer works with us on this. And then their own behavior, depending on weather and things, might have a variance month to month from what it might be. So my only point is, we can't give you back as temporally, accurately a result right after you've spent $1 million to say, next month, what'd you get for that? I can tell you at the end of the year probably what you get for that. So I would say, the most frequent that I think that we could give meaningful information, and this would be a step up in our reporting requirements, would be semi-annual, to do it every 6 months. I think we could get something that would give you what we spent, what we've got, where it's come, what we estimate our savings associated with that, and then be able to get some job information over that. But anything shorter than that, frankly, I don't think it's going to be particularly meaningful, and I would have to literally hire some more staff to do it more frequently.
Okay. But you can develop some metrics of a draft type report that you would be semi-annually presenting to the board and for the public.
Absolutely. And then I guess I think just in terms of setting your expectations, that information in that report is going to become better over time. It is like a wine. It gets better with time. You'll get better information. We'll have as the programs get deeper and you get more customer response, and we've tuned our programs and the customers get better at that. You'll have better information over time.
Okay. And my final area is waste, fraud, and abuse. We're more than doubling the amount of dollars that we're putting towards energy efficiency. What are we building in from day one to make sure that we're auditing the programs, that we're dealing, to the extent that DWP is dealing with third-party vendors, that they're playing by the rules and doing the right things in an efficient way?
A couple of things. Number one, we're going to have to, as we're spending more money on this, our measurement and verification programs are going to have to step up along with that, so that we know we spent this, we expected to get that, what did we get out of that? And, you know, we still need to develop probably a program of some periodic sampling of the results, particularly of some third-party. Some of this is going to be third-party contracting, so that we're doing some periodic evaluations of that to get a good sampling to make certain that not only are we getting what we're paying for, but also make certain that we get a good understanding of what is the customer interaction on this as well.
Is there going to be a dedicated person in the audit department that will be looking at these programs?
Well, we will have a dedicated person that's responsible for this effort.
Oh, that's good enough.
Where they won't necessarily reside in an audit. I don't think they're going to be in their financial services organization.
If I may, I have a few questions. It's my understanding that the investor-owned utilities have also participated in energy efficiency programs over the last few years. So either Mr. Nichols or Mr. Sedlacek, could you tell me what they're on target to get to by 2020? Our neighbors like Southern California Edison or PG&E or San Diego Gas and Electric. I mean, it's my understanding. I mean, they're supposed to get to like 13% by 2020. They're on track to get there. And so our target of 10% kind of puts us a little bit as a donut hole. And I know that SMUD was planning on getting to 15% as well, from what I understand.
SMUD does have a target of getting to 15%. SMUD has the blessing and the curse of having kind of San Fernando Valley climate through their entire service territory, so they have probably some more cost-effective opportunities in the way of HVAC and things like that that run many more hours during the year than they do in Los Angeles.
So climate change may actually help us meet our targets. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you know, I don't know that I would be banking on that, but and I guess the key point there. Taking two dissimilar utilities that have different geography, different climate zones, a different mix between commercial, industrial, and residential makes it very hard to compare them on a side-by-side basis. And I would have to say, and this is one of the reasons that I personally have wanted to push more on doing more energy efficiency, and as I think as Mr. Gillespie noted, yeah, I did the very first thing I said. That's when I came on board, is this something we need to do more of. When you've done a lot more of it, you get better at it. And I don't like to always necessarily hold other utilities up above us, but some of the other utilities have been at this longer than we have in the past, and as a result, you know, they might be able to get more comfortable in laying out those goals than we have been to get at higher levels. We need to catch up.
Thank you. Also, there was some mention of working collegially with some of the other utilities, such as the gas company. In our communication package, we received a letter from Hal Snyder from Southern California Gas Company, and they expressed their support for this item and would like to see us work closely with them. And, you know, there is that Energy Upgrade California, and I'd just like to know, you know, some of the ideas that you have, Mark or Ron, about how to work more collegially with our fellow utilities.
Well, the first thing that we're looking at is an MOU with a gas company, so we can leverage the programs, and where they're looking at rebates, we can add ours to them. So it's actually a whole house approach. So I think that's the real critical thing we need to do, is establish a formal partnership with them. And that'll be under the umbrella of the Energy Upgrade California.
And I would add to that, we have met with them frequently and recently as well. And one of the things that we're looking at doing is they're very interested in partnering with us at LAUSD, for example. And we think that could be a very cost-effective approach. In addition to that, we have both been dealing on the weatherization program because we both receive funding through the ARRA USDOE monies. We are in this plan replacing what were federal funds with customer monies now. So the department will be funding what was federally funded before. We both work separately on that. I should say we funded separately. We've recently talked about on that weatherization program how we can go out and be able to do combined weatherization efforts with those customers. I'm hopeful that we will either be able to expand this program for the same dollars or do the same program for lesser dollars by doing that. More to come on that, but that's the types of things that we're trying to work with them on. And they're very eager to work with us in that regard.
I mean, one of the things that's abundantly clear is that we're all in the same media market as well, and with our SCAPA partners as well. So if we could coordinate efforts, it would make it much easier on the customer. And related to that, and by the way, I'm just so pleased to see the various programs that are being suggested, but they're all kind of hardwire programs. It's actually putting in a physical infrastructure, and item 7 is launch behavioral programs with our sister city agencies such as the Green Angel program, and there's so many, ideas that are circulating right now of how to have customers be part of the solution, that they can turn off lights, that they can deal with phantom power in their own homes, that people like in City Hall, they can shut down their computers at night. There are ways that behavior can drive tremendous amount of energy savings, and I would very much want to encourage the department to put some emphasis on working with the city's Green Angel campaign and pushing on some behavioral changes. And there are some nascent efforts in the state of California. There is the Behavior, Energy Efficiency, and Climate Change Conference that's organized by UC Berkeley, and there's a lot of good stuff out there.
There is. We do have a little over $2 million in this budget for the first year on behavioral efforts. We haven't done a lot there in the past, so this is a ramp up to get there. We need, because one thing to keep in mind, we are moving on a lot of fronts. This is a lot of moving pieces. To be honest with you, I'm a little nervous about being able to move on all those pieces. So at the end of the day, when we go back to the reporting efforts, judge us by what we did in the total, and let's not get too hung up on the individual items on here, because some of them are going to work faster than we expected, and some are going to be a little bit slower than we expect. The behavioral one is something that's fairly new to us, but as some of the things that you mentioned, I think there are opportunities to partner with others on there that'll get us, kind of bootstrap us up on that.
Oh, I very much appreciate that. So in light of your comments, General Manager, and in light of some of the other comments from the speakers, I'd like to offer an amendment, if I might, related to the reporting back and getting some good information as this new accelerated program rolls out.
Aren't you a little out of order? We don't have a motion yet.
Well, I'd like to add this to the board letter, if I might.
Okay.
And so let me read it, and it'll be open to your comments.
Okay.
If that's acceptable? All right. So be it further resolved that expenditures from the energy efficiency budget will be made consistent with the IRP and the utility's long-term resource procurement strategy, and that the staff will make a semi-annual report on progress modeled on the annual CEC report. And in addition, to safeguard against fraud, waste, and abuse, LADWP will conduct periodic audits of its third-party contractors. Discussion?
Meets with my approval.
I'd like to make a motion then.
Please.
I'd like to approve the board resolution as amended by Commissioner Parfrey, with one additional change, which is in the second to last paragraph, the last "be it resolved" further paragraph. There's a reference to the budget, and I would like to, have the amount of $127 million referenced here and the reference to this year's 2013 budget.
I find that amendment to the amendment acceptable.
Likewise.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, hearing no objection, item passes. Thank you very much. The next agenda item, Barbara, is we want to take this out of order. This is, let's take the budget item, which is item number 13. And Mr. Nichols, you're presenting.
Actually, again, I'll provide an overview on this, and I'll turn it over to our CFO, Phil
Mr.
Leiber.
Nichols, can we take a 90-second break, please?
Certainly.
Because we're going to lose our quorum for a second.
Okay. Could be a 2-minute break.
Recording?
Well, I feel bad.
I'd like to welcome everyone back, please. This is a meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners of May 24th, 2012. It's our special meeting. And we just took a short break, and now we are reconvening, and we are looking at item 13, which is the approval of the budget. Mr. Nichols.
Just as a brief introduction, just to put this in perspective again, we want to provide an update on some changes to the budget. As we present it, we will be talking about rate implications. associated with the budget. Keep in mind that the budget is just fiscal year 12-13. We get a little confusion on this in some of our public meetings, that it's a one-year budget. We have a two-year rate plan. So sometimes that gets those numbers get a little confusing in terms of differentiating them. We do, as we explained in the energy efficiency presentation, the action on the budget here does have a minor rate effect on here. Phil will explain that. We do need to get a rate adjustment to undertake some of the programs that we'll be talking about here today. And some of these things that we're doing on the energy efficiency program, we're going to have to ramp up over the course of the year. And some of those programs will start after this summer, because we do want to make certain that we get ultimate clarity on our budget levels and not get too ahead of our skis on something. Like, the last thing I want to do is get out there, lay out a program, and do what we've done in the past. Lay out a program and then say, oh, didn't get the rates for it, got to roll it back again. So we want to make certain that we're messaging right and partnering right with our customers on this. But that said, I'm confident that we can get rolling forward well on these programs. So let me turn it over to Phil Leiber to go through the budget.
Okay, thank you, Ron. This is about a 60-page presentation. We're not going to go through all of this, and we're going to cover it at a relatively high level because we've been talking about a lot of these programs for a long time. I want to just focus today on what's really changed since the preliminary budget in March. And in a nutshell, not a whole lot has changed other than the energy efficiency program. So just briefly, this is what we're going to talk about, where we're at in the budget development process, the programs that are impacting rates, both the individual programs, the dollars, and the rate impact, and then we'll conclude with just a brief overview of staffing. So in March, we presented to the board and transmitted to the city a preliminary budget, and that was a new requirement under Measure J that was adopted last year. We're also required at this point to transmit a final budget by the end of May, which is what we're here to do today. What's changed since the preliminary budget? We're going to talk about it from both a power and a water perspective. A bit more has happened on the power side. First, the proposed rate increase is increased by about 20 basis points from 4.6% to 4.8%, and that's due to the increased funding for the energy efficiency program. In terms of the actual budget numbers themselves, capital spending has increased about $56 million. O&M has decreased by about $16 million, and that's almost entirely due to the additional $40 million of spending in the energy efficiency area. We also are changing the treatment of how we fund those programs through rates. As was mentioned previously, we're going to be spreading these costs of the energy efficiency program over time. Generally, bond funding them reduces the rate impact in any given year. We are also increasing our staffing modestly in the power system by about 2.4%, and that will be necessary to fund and have staff to implement these additional programs in energy efficiency and the power reliability program. Also pleased to note that as we were looking under every rock to find any dollars to mitigate the rate impacts here, in a review of our balance sheet, we found a deferred credit that had been on the balance sheet since 1998 of about $46 million. We concluded this was no longer necessary, so we incorporated that into our rate proposal, and that lessened our reliance on drawing down the rate stabilization fund. So that helped us. We've already talked about the increase in energy efficiency, going beyond the 8.6% goal that we were aiming for, to making a healthy start in the first couple of years to something well in excess of 10%. The energy efficiency program does have the benefit of reducing the overall energy on which our rates are calculated. So we have 72 gigawatt hours of reduced load in the next year. And that concludes the changes to power. On the water side, a little bit less happening. We had a very modest pass-through rate increase that was anticipated for the upcoming fiscal year of about 0.5%. That's actually now swung in the other direction. It would be a decrease of about 0.5% now compared to the rates that are currently in effect this quarter. In terms of spending, not much has changed. Capital decreased, primarily just related to timing of various projects. The one notable item that we're going to spend a bit more time on is we do have our final outlook now for purchased water costs. It has been a very dry precipitation season that will increase our reliance on Metropolitan Water District water. So bills will be fairly significantly impacted as a result of that, and we'll spend a bit more time on that in a moment.
And those are not considered a pass-through dollars?
It is a pass-through. No board action is required for that.
And what is the, Jim, what's the percentage this year of purchased water from Met versus last year?
This year, we'll be purchasing about 2/3 of our water from Metropolitan Water District.
And this current year, what was that? About a third?
Less than a third.
It's
About
closer to 25,
27%, if I
20, yes,
recall.
20, 26, 27%.
It's a big increase.
It's a huge swing.
Big swing.
And Commissioner, I think that's a really good point, that we're going from two extremes. So you're seeing a year-to-year swing that I don't know, Jim. I think it might be unprecedented level of swing between any 2 years. I don't know. We'll get into that actually when we present later on.
But it's important for I think the public to understand that this is not optional. We have to go out and purchase the water to be able to supply it to our customers.
Right, and we'll actually provide some information and kind of historically how that swing has happened and how this compares relative to that and what that means in terms of the fact that you're right. We have to provide water.
Phil, I'm sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, and it's about a 41% increase in the cost of purchased water from the current year to next year. The rate impact, as it turns out, is even a little bit larger because there's kind of a lag effect. So that's what's happening on the water side. As well as on the power side, we have a very modest increase in staffing of about 2.4%, and we'll talk about the reasons for that shortly as well. So as we've been talking about with the board and with the public, we are in the middle of a transformation on both the power side and the water side. The power side, we need to replace about 70% of our generation in the next 10 to 15 years. At the same time, making headway on replacing an aging distribution infrastructure. On the water side, similar challenges on the supply and on how we get the water to our customers. We have an aging infrastructure. We have not been keeping up with that. In this proposed budget, we will be making some advances. We won't be getting to where we'd ultimately like to be, but we'll talk about that in a moment. These are the major programs that we are funding in this budget, and they're the same programs we'll be talking about in the years to come. The challenge in implementing all these programs is to get the work done as cost effectively as possible so that we can mitigate the rate impacts and keep our rates competitive. In terms of the power side, this is a pie chart that we had shown before. It takes about $3.2 billion to produce and deliver power to our customers. This is pretty much unchanged from what we showed in the preliminary budget, so I won't spend a lot of time here. This is another overview of essentially the same information. It just shows how the dollars are changing from one year to the next. And a couple of items that I would just point out would be there is a change in fuel and purchased power, modest decrease. Every year we refine our mix of where our power is coming from, and here we have an increase in renewable power and power from IPP, offset by natural gas prices and other purchased power costs. As you can see, we're making a substantial increase in our capital investment, and that's related to the programs I just mentioned. The changes from the preliminary budget are also highlighted here. They're things I've already talked about. These are the major programs that we're going to be focusing on in the years to come. The Power Supply Replacement Program increasing by just short of 10% from the current year to next year. That's rebuilding the local power plants and getting towards the 20% renewable energy goal, or the 33% that we're required to get by 2020. On the Power Reliability Program, we're increasing our spending by about 10% from the current year to next year. This is pretty close to what we had budgeted in the preliminary budget. And then the Customer Opportunities Program, that's the large ramp up in the energy efficiency program that's driving this, as well as continued investment in the solar programs. In terms of rebuilding power plants, we had talked last time about the two major coastal power plants that will be transitioning away from ocean cooling. We also have added, for terms of this presentation, the completion of the Castaic plant modernization. This was in our budget before. We just didn't have it categorized in this area. In terms of renewable energy, this is just a slight decrease from what was in the preliminary budget of $336 million. And again, that mix is just constantly updated. The power reliability program, it's about a 10% increase in spending from the current year. And the major challenge we face here is we have not sufficient staff to keep up with the known issues on the system. We have fix-it tickets. These are known problems. Maybe temporary or Band-Aid solutions were applied, or where there's a known problem with the system. This has increased substantially. We hope in the years ahead to be able to turn the corner and have this number of tickets be reduced.
Well, Phil, do you want to take questions about specific slides now, or do you want to wait?
Anytime is fine.
Oh, okay. Well, going to the fix-it tickets, how many tickets are going to get taken care of under this budget?
0 on this. We don't have any money allocated for this backlog.
So within the power reliability program, all the money that's being budgeted, that none of that goes towards fix-it
No,
tickets?
everything that we have talked about the power reliability is for replacement and you know, the replacement of the assets that we have, the transformers, the cables, the poles. But we haven't put any money in the budget that takes care of the backlog.
What is the projected or anticipated consequence of not taking care of any fix-it tickets over the next budget year?
It's prioritization of what we have to do. I mean, we have abnormal circuits that we have right now that we have to take care of. We have poles that are deteriorated that we have to take care of, other issues in the substations that we have to take care of. So comparing, these are temporary repairs and things that are in the system, and prioritizing those, that's where we are focusing on to take care of those major issues.
All right. Well, from my perspective, this is one of those moments when I turn to the general manager and say, are we asking to do enough? Because obviously 41,000 items have been marked as something that needs to be repaired, and this budget takes care of none of those. And over time, more are going to come into the queue. You know, are we just sort of whistling into the wind here?
Well, I don't believe that we're whistling into the wind. We are looking at kind of triaging what we can do. One of the things, and Aaron, correct me if I'm misspeaking on this, by putting more money into our replacement program of aged equipment, we'll have less likelihood of this number growing at the rate that it's growing, because we're putting in new and not having more of that aged system break on us, and having to do temporary fixes on some of those. This is an issue of trying to start to. We cut $100 million plus out of last year's budget, and so this is simply getting back to roughly the budget level that we were year before last, and then building up on that over time. So we have to stem the tide, the rise of that fix-it ticket, before we start turning it down the other way. So this is a multi-year program to get that done.
And when we're looking at distributed generation, more photovoltaics out there, when we're looking at electric vehicles, that's asking our distribution system to do an even heavier lift than it's doing now. So one could argue that this is really an underfunded program to meet even some of those environmental objectives.
The programs that we've laid out on the reliability, basically what Ron outlined, is we need to get the flow of the energy coming into the distribution system has to be taken care of too. Spending too much money on one area and not taking care of the the transmission and the stations that feed into the distribution system, that creates another bubble that we have to take care of. So we have to spread the resources and prioritize all the work that we have to do, but eventually we have to get down to these numbers and knock them out so we can have a reliable system.
But I'm still disturbed that this budget takes care of none of them, and presumably the number's going to grow. And I gotta imagine that if you're identifying as a fix-it ticket an item, that item has some repercussion if it's not working properly to the rest of the system.
So that's, again, we have limited resources, and also.
I'm not criticizing, the choices you've made. You have limited resources. What I'm suggesting here is, are we doing enough? Because reliability is very important to residential customers, to commercial customers, and I got to imagine that by, just not dealing with fix-it tickets as an example, as a whole category, that's going to have implications for reliability, and that's very costly to people.
So, Commissioner Moss, if I may, are you suggesting that perhaps our request for additional revenue doesn't meet the need?
Well, that it's either the pie gets bigger, the pie gets sliced differently, or you do the choice you've made, which is to not deal with an entire category.
And we have made, we generally have made that choice as getting back to looking at our overall broader level of replacements of aged facilities in the expectation that we slow down that rate of growth of this problem and work our way through then to start stemming the tide later on as we work through it. At the end of the day, we believe that prioritization for doing that replacement to help stem the tide of that growing is a number one priority for us. Could we do more if we had additional dollars? Of course we could. Our view is we're trying to make a balance overall on our rate adjustments and reflect also where we are in the economy right now too.
Well, I'm not going to try and second guess priorities because you're professionals, you're experts. I'm just a citizen commissioner. But it seems to me that to just present it and say to us there's 41,000 fix-it tickets and it's 3 million man-hours to deal with that, and then to not allocate any dollars towards reducing that is just, I just find that troubling. And I would like to, urge staff to reconsider how they allocate resources to, maybe figure out, unless these maybe I'm misunderstanding, maybe the fix-it tickets are just, small items and that they don't have any implications on reliability or more performance.
These are just kind of scoping this, what's in this bucket. These are issues that we have identified in our system that has been fixed temporarily. So there's about 2,000 items in this bucket that are basically redesigns, upgrades that are on the shelf to be done.
So this is the chewing gum and baling wire that you're talking about.
So yeah, these are things that we have trouble crews go out there and repair it, or we've done inspection that has broken bolts and things. It could be anywhere from a 2-hour job to a day job or 2-day job, but these are things we have in our queue that we have to have resources go out there, repair it permanently. So when we put these in the priority bucket, for us, since we have restored the power and we have the system going, we will focus on other areas, the abnormal circuits, the poles and the wires, the big stuff that could cause additional strain on the system, so we have to redirect resources on there. But eventually we have to go back and restore these issues to make sure everything is normal in our system. And that the trending is troublesome because the reason why these things are going up is because the system keeps on adding more issues that we cannot resolve. So that has to be reversed. And right now with the budget that we have, that's not part of the reversal strategy.
Okay, well, I suppose you continue on. I would just be repeating myself at this point.
Okay. So I guess I would suggest that as we go through this year, and this is a one-year budget, as we go through this year, perhaps we do a little bit more evaluation of what increment it might take above and beyond that in subsequent years. Because some of the things we need to do, frankly, is we need to staff back up in some of these areas. Right now, if we were to go out after some of these things, we don't have the staff to do it, to be frank.
But to address, I think, Commissioner, on the long term, even if we have the funding today, you know, to turn the trend, it's going to take several years for us to add additional resources, training, the vehicles, and infrastructure in order for us to sustain a normal level. So that's going to be part of our discussions as we move forward, because that is part of our sustainability the next 10 years, 15 years, about making sure that those levels are kept in there, and that's not going to happen overnight on these things.
Okay. The third program on the power system is the Customer Opportunity Program. Here, as we've discussed earlier, we are making a substantial change from what we had proposed in the preliminary budget. We had proposed increasing our funding for the energy efficiency program from $55 million to $87 million. We are now more than doubling the funding of the current year, increasing that up to $127 million. The rate impact is relatively modest. It's about a 0.2% increase in the system average rate. For the average residential customer, that equates to just less than about 10 cents per month on the bill. The other element of this program is the Customer Solar Program, both the Solar Incentive Program and the feed-in tariff. And funding for that program, while we are ramping up the program, it is about the same in the next year as in the current year, because the feed-in tariff, the costs for that don't really kick in until a bit later. Here is the energy efficiency program, just kind of laid out graphically, and in one sense this responds to one of the commissioner's requests. With the funding level that we're at, we're proposing for next year, we don't reach the 10%, but it puts us on a path to exceed it. So the preliminary budget was the dark green bars, and that put us on a path to achieve 8.6% by 2020. Now, with this increased funding level, if we continue that level of investment in the years ahead, would put us on a path to exceed 10% by 2020. In terms of the bill impacts, you can see that next year we would be looking at a system average rate impact of about 4.8%, and then we show the rate changes for residential and small commercial customers. And I should just note, for residential customers, the percentage impact is lower than the system average rate impact, because we are keeping the Tier 1 rates as low as possible, and to the extent we do need to collect more from residential customers, that is going to be placed on the second and third tier of usage. So most customers, more than 2/3 of our customers, will see impacts in terms of percent well below the system average rate. Commercial rates, we had talked about these previously. They largely mirror the system average over the 2 years. On the water side, we also show that the overall budget, it's increasing from north of $800 million this year to about just over $1 billion next year. And one of the major drivers is the increase in purchased water, which we'll talk about in a moment, as well as the investments in the 3 program areas that I presented earlier. This just shows a comparison of the budget from one year to the next. And as I had mentioned, one of the major drivers is the increase in purchased water. It's increasing by about $70 million from the current year to next year. It's about a 41% increase. And the O&M and capital changes that are embedded here are those necessary to fund those 3 major programs that I talked about and are overviewing here. Very little has changed from the preliminary budget. These numbers are essentially the same as what we had presented earlier. Just a quick overview of the 3 programs. In terms of the local water supply, consists of 4 sub-programs: water recycling, conservation, stormwater capture, groundwater cleanup and management. Substantial increases in all of these programs from the current year. We're proud of that. Very little has changed from the preliminary budget. In the Safe Drinking Water Program, there have been no changes here. It does represent an increase from the current year. This program is largely funded by the increase that already took effect this March. the 35-cent increase in the water quality adjustment, and it does allow for substantial progress on a number of projects throughout the city. In terms of the water system reliability program, here too, very little in the way of changes from the preliminary budget. It does allow us to start heading in the right direction on replacing our aging infrastructure. We're currently on a replacement cycle of over 400 years. Ideally, that would be down in the 100 to 200 year range. We don't get there next year with this budget, but we're heading in the right direction. And in terms of bill impact, here are the system average rate impacts that we'd be looking at in the first year. It's about a reduction, other than purchased water, of about 0.5%. That is one change from the preliminary budget. The sign has kind of flipped here. It was about a 0.5% increase previously. As we've refined our various pass-through adjustments, that has been a change that's occurred since March. Here we show the bill impacts. And again, not a lot of change from what we showed in the preliminary budget. The numbers over the 2 years are very, very similar. Just the change from 1 year to the next has changed a little bit. And the major new development that we want to talk about today is we have gotten our final forecast of what our projected purchased water costs are. And I'm going to turn that over to Jim McDaniels to run us through that.
Okay. First of all, I think it helps to understand a comparison of the snowpack conditions. And for this, I'm going to use the Mammoth Pass snowpack, which is kind of an indicator snow pillow that we kind of monitor throughout the year as being indicative of the overall Eastern Sierra water supply. So you can see on this graph the blue line that's at the top of that dark arrow. That was last year, and you can see that we had just a fantastic year last year. It was over 150% of normal, I think, at the peak there. And then the red line down below, that's this year. So this is the kind of swing we see from 1 year to the next. Just for comparison's sake, the very top, that kind of dash line, that's the best year ever. And then down at the bottom, there's a dotted red line. That's the worst year ever. So you can see that we've, we were tracking almost the worst year ever there until the very, very kind of end of the snow season. It picked up a little bit. But this is going to result in this year, LA Aqueduct supplies are only going to be about 26% of our total water supply. Last year, there were well over 50%. So it's almost a halving of what we're going to get from the LA Aqueduct. Our Metropolitan Water purchases this year are probably going to account for about 65%, exacerbated by the fact that we continue to lose groundwater production due to groundwater contamination. Last year, I think our MET was right around in the 33% or something like that. So about doubling of our MET, about half of our LA Aqueduct. So on the next slide, this shows just historically, this is not unusual. As the general manager stated, it's probably one of the more severe ones. I haven't quite tracked through all the climatological records, but of back-to-back years. But you can see this thing jumps around quite a bit. I know Commissioner Parfrey, you usually like to ask me questions about climate change. This is one of the, we don't have a lot of real solid answers from climate change scientists, but this is one of the things they tell us that we will be seeing more of. It's hard to kind of predict on a gross basis, more water, less water. But one of the things they're telling us is you're going to see more of this jumping around. We're going to go from wetter wet years to drier dry years and longer periods of each. So this, I don't know if this is climate change in action, but this is kind of indicative of probably the kind of swings that we'll be seeing.
Question, Jim. Do we have the ability to adjust the amount of diversion from the aqueduct that goes to Owens Valley in a drier year as opposed to a wetter year? Do we have any flexibility on that?
The Owens Valley or the Owens?
Yeah, any water that we take and keep up in the Owens Valley as opposed to bringing it down to LA?
It's carryover storage from 1 year to the next. Yeah, we do not have a lot of carryover storage. Most of the storage that we have up there is regulatory storage, and pretty much we drain our reservoirs 1 year to make room so that we can capture all the snowpack the next year. If we left a significant amount, the biggest reservoir we have up there is Crowley Lake. And if we left a significant amount of water in Crawley Lake, we would run the risk then of overspilling the lake in the following year if we had a big snowpack. So we pretty much operate the system of drawing down storage in anticipation of next year's snowpack.
Okay, is there any benefit to maybe thinking, if what you were saying about climate change might be right, is there any long-term benefit to rethinking that storage philosophy?
There is, and one of the areas, though, that we're specifically looking at, probably more closely than surface water storage, we're looking at potentially augmenting some of our surface water storage reservoirs, but we're really looking at groundwater storage opportunities, especially in the Antelope Valley, where we could either store LA Aqueduct water, or once our connection with the State Water Project is built, we would also have the option of storing State Water Project water in a wet year. And that's a basin that we have rights and that we're currently in negotiations to get assured storage rights in that basin. You have benefits in groundwater storage. You don't have the evaporation and other things.
Right. And speaking of groundwater storage, I seem to recall in some of the briefing materials there was a reference to the fact that the aquifer in the San Fernando Valley over time is going to become less and less available to DWP because of contamination. Did I get that right?
Yes, and that's an ongoing problem that we have as far as being able to utilize our full groundwater adjudication in that basin. The plan is to provide the treatment necessary for the water that we pump out of the basement to clean up that water and make it, purify it, make it usable again. And to the extent that we can build the facilities large enough, which is what we plan to do, that we would restore the utility of that basin, not only for groundwater production, but also so that we can significantly augment the groundwater there with highly treated recycled water. We can augment the groundwater with stormwater capture. We can do wet year storage. When we have a lot of water available, we can use that basin. It all is going to hinge on, though, getting this groundwater treatment system in place.
So what are we doing towards that?
It's going to be a lengthy process. There's a lot of regulatory processes to go through, which we've already been in the process of. We're drilling monitoring wells in the San Fernando Valley. You're required to very thoroughly document and characterize the existing contaminants. We've begun preliminary engineering on possible treatment schemes that we can have. We're also looking at legal options as far as providing financing from the people who are potentially responsible for the pollution. So we're kind of looking at all fronts on that.
So this budget contains funds to carry on those projects?
It's at the beginning of that. We're not into the heavy lifting part of that project yet, but there are funds in here to begin that. Okay, so here's the unfortunate bad news part of this big swing story. We're looking at about a 54 cents per 100 cubic foot increase in the purchased water factor, and that's going to have a pretty significant bill impact for our typical 12 HCF customer. You're looking at about $6 to $6.50 per month on the bill for that one. The 24 HCF customer is looking at almost $13 a month, and then a 100 HCF commercial customer would be looking at $54 per month. So it's a significant increase.
So, General Manager, that begs a question. What are we going to do in terms of messaging to our customers that big water bills, because this number on the slides here is on top of the rate increase.
It is.
So the bills are going to go, it's like almost a double whammy that people are going to experience this year.
Well, number one, they're not going to see, it's a negligible increase on anything else. In fact, actually, it's a reduction this year for this. So the whole story this year is going to be, for this coming year, is going to be the purchase water. The good thing, we're hopeful. We can only project what we have now. We don't know what the next year is to bring. So I guess I would contrast this compared to a circumstance where we're having to go out and fund a $500 million component of our water quality program and end up having to carry that capital cost for 30 years to do that. this has the potential of coming right back down again in the subsequent year if we get a decent water year. And that indeed, when you showed that prior picture, shows exactly what happened. It's up, it's down, and for that reason, it is literally a pass-through. We have been messaging out, more important thing that we've been messaging out. Yes, it is important to make sure people realize their bills are going to be higher, but we have been messaging already, getting information out on the fact that we've had a drier year, significantly, almost record dry year this year, and that people should be much more mindful on water conservation in that behavioral aspect that we talked about, and the energy efficiency side that applies here as water as well. Make people more water aware so that they can help control their individual costs of how much they have to pay by virtue of cutting back their water use. So we've been doing that. We've ramped that program up. We will be doing more so over the course of the summer. And clearly, we can add to that now that we have the information. We knew it was going to be a dry year. We just didn't have the information as to how dry. And we now know because the winter's out, we have the numbers are in, and we can add this to the messaging so that people are aware.
So the staff has been working on kind of an integrated campaign, both publicizing the programs, the rebates, the various things that we have to do where they can help take advantage of these programs and save on their bills, getting the message out on our watering ordinance. We still have a 3-day-a-week watering ordinance in the city. We want to refresh everybody's memory about that because a lot of people have forgotten. We'll have people. We're making arrangements now to get people back out on the streets in hopefully more of an educational a mode to remind folks that they need to comply with the watering ordinance and keep their water use down and help avoid some of the bigger impacts of this swing.
Okay, just to conclude, a few words on the staffing outlook. So a key element of the utilities cost reduction program over the course of the past year has been to constrain our staffing levels. When positions become open, we try to hold them open, try to reallocate the work, improve efficiency, and we're going to continue doing that. We have left a lot of positions unfilled in the prospective budget, but to make progress on these regulatory mandates, we will programmatically have to increase staffing in certain areas. We're going to do that in a disciplined manner as we can. This is the outlook over the year ahead. Shows the funded staffing levels, so these are the dollars that we have in the budget to provide for this level of staffing. So in the past year, we were at about 9,600 staff. In the current year budget, the funding level was dropped down to 9,200, and in the year ahead, we'd be looking to increase that just over 200 staff to about 9,400. So it represents an increase over the water and power side of about 2.5%.
Now, I have a question about this because there's something I just didn't understand. On slide 31, you're showing as of April 2012 that there are 8,921 occupied positions.
That's correct.
And then in slide 32 for the 12-13 budget, you're asking for 9,417.
That's correct.
Now, are we going to get to the 9,185 level of staffing first? I mean, how many people really, in terms of occupied positions, are we really adding here?
Well, where we're at right now is about 8,900. That's less than we have funded in the budget. So that's the discrepancy that you're noted. So in the current year, our actual occupancy is about 8,900. It's lower than the funded level of about 9,200. So over the course of the next year, we would plan to ramp up from the current level of about 8,900 to about 9,400.
So you're really talking about not hiring 250 people. You're talking about hiring many more, closer to 500, maybe even 600.
Over the course of the year, yes. But in terms of the dollars that we have in the budget.
No, I understand the dollars in the budget, but we're talking real positions because it's only when you have real positions that you have the trailing costs of benefits and all the rest of it with employees.
And that's all incorporated in here, but your point is a valid one.
So where are the 600 positions?
Good lead into the next couple of slides. So on the power side.
Before we get into that, number one, we don't think there's any way in the world we're going to hire 600 people. We couldn't bring people on that quickly. If we do, we will ramp up in these areas. We need to get additional people on board for all of the programs that we've been talking about. Part of them by virtue of things that we've suspended over the course of the last year and a half. Part of the things about things that we're ramping up above and beyond. And it always gets confusing to lay out what your funded position levels are versus your actual occupied positions. This shows the split of the emphasis of where those positions are going to be. I don't want you walking away here with the notice expectation that we're going to hire 600 people at LADWP in this 12-month period of time, because I don't see that's a foreseeable opportunity to even get to those levels.
But the rate increase is premised on a fully funded budget. So if you're not going to hire 600 people and you're only going to hire 300 people, why not reduce the funded level down by 300 and have that effect roll through the budget? Maybe we don't have to raise the rates so much.
Well, what we're showing is the delta. What we're showing is the delta between the funded positions versus the new funded positions, and I think that's the more appropriate focus between the two.
Commissioner Noonan?
That was my question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the power side.
I'm sorry, one last question. Peter Falk here. How many do you think you will hire next year?
This is always an internal debate. If we go to the people responsible for doing the work, they look ahead at what needs to be done over the next year, and they say, I need all of those people on the first day of the fiscal year. Now, we can look realistically. Logistically, we can't make that happen. The HR system can't accommodate that many hires. So it's always kind of a debate. What do we assume for financial purposes versus the people who have to get the work done? So we try to make realistic assumptions in the budget. We think these are realistic assumptions. That said, to actually get this many people on board, it may turn out to be slower. Just as in the current year, we have funding for 9,200, and we've tried to hold a lot of those positions open, and we have hiring constraints, and we're lower than that. There's a possibility we could not achieve this in the next year.
Okay.
So in terms of where these proposed positions would go, this is the breakout in the power side. I just want to note that 86% of the staffing increase is related to the three programs that we had talked about previously. The two largest are for the Power Reliability Program. That's about 60% of the staffing increase, and about 20% is related to ramping up the Energy Efficiency Program. That program consists of a lot more than just rebates. It takes a lot of people to administer that program and to actually go out and do a lot of the installation work. So that is the largest driver here, about 80% of the increase. We also have, just as an example, in the customer service side, we are putting in that new customer information system, and there will be new features to benefit customers, including moving to monthly billing. There is some more work involved in that. We do need a few additional staff to help assist with that. On the water side, here as well, 90% of the increase is related to the three programs that we discussed earlier, rebuilding the infrastructure, the water quality, and making advances on the local water supply program. And as I had promised earlier, there are 60 slides in the presentation. This is all I think it's essential that we go through for the overview.
What kind of recruitment efforts will you make to attract the appropriate candidates for these positions?
Well, we have each system, water, power, and our support services joint system, has their programs. We've identified and laid out function by function what we need. We work with our HR group, and we have to coordinate as well with the city personnel department on doing that. We have job descriptions put in place for most of these. We have requests out there. We have regular interviewing through that. But keep in mind, virtually all of these positions are civil service positions that require going through our standard civil service process of finding people that are on qualified lists. If the lists aren't aren't full, we go through and get people tested to get on that list, and then go through an interview process. It's not a quick and simple process. All the more reason of saying there's no way that we're going to add 600 new people for the course of this entire year to go through that process. There's a kind of a prioritization effort that each system has done to, what are the most critical of those positions to make certain that they're, just as a reminder, I'm still maintaining the same approach that we did when we did our budget cuts last year. And that is every person that we hire as a permanent position requires my personal approval before we go through that process. So we spend a lot of time going through that, but we've spent the last 3 months going through making certain what do we need in those areas, what are the most important areas through that, and laying out to try to make sure we can get there. All that said, there's another dynamic in here that we don't control, and that is we have some 500 people a year walking out the door, and principally through retirement. And we don't know that that's going to continue at that same level, and we don't know who's going to leave. We know who's eligible to retire, but that isn't necessarily an indicator of the best indicator of who's going to and when. So all of that is an effort where we're tracking it every month. We're looking through what our needs are. We're looking to bring people in to get there, and it's never an exact match because we don't always know who's going to retire. We have an incredibly high percentage of our people who are at retirement age, as most large organizations across the world, frankly, are dealing with the baby boomer crunch right now.
Thank you.
Mr. Moss, do you have some additional questions?
Yeah, I want to, if we can we go to slide 56? That's the cost reduction plan for 2011-2012. And I guess the reason why I wanted to take a look at that was I didn't see one for 2012-2013. Are you still have a cost reduction plan operative that's going to flow through this year's budget?
This was actually a multi-year plan.
Okay.
There's a 3-year plan.
All right.
Through doing that, we're monitoring all of these activities. As we put together this budget, we went through where are we on these items. We've added additional items to that, and continuing to make certain as we look at both capital items, hiring, outside hires, programs, tracking each of those to stay on top of that. It's a 3-year effort. I anticipate that as we go into next year, we'll kind of do a refresh on that.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that in the lower right-hand corner where you have the totals, that we're still on track with those totals?
We are. We're actually a little bit ahead of those totals.
Okay, good, thank you.
And by ahead, I mean we have cut better than what we have in those numbers, just to be clear.
Commissioner Noonan, do you have additional questions?
No, thank you.
If I might go to the Power Financial Plan, please.
In the big book?
In the big book. That's difficult to find. I have some questions related to the transfer, and I was hoping to better understand the forecast. And looking at the forecast in the transfer, there's sort of a bump that comes in 2016. And I was hoping where it goes up to, I believe, $500 million. Is there an explanation of that, please?
Good catch. It's line 11A.
Okay, I think you may be misreading the line numbers. There's a net income before city transfer. That's the one that increases to 500?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
The city transfer does grow just at 8% of our rates, but it increases, for example, by 2017 to $306 million.
All right, thank you. Thanks for that clarification.
On the line just below that, though, as long as we're there, in the left-hand column in 2010, on the item increase in fund net assets, 11C, we had, looks like $322 million. And then you can see final 2011, 58, revised 75. And why the dramatic reduction in that number there.
Right. So every year when we set rates, we set them so that we will generate about $50 million in net income or increase in net assets. And the reason we do that is it's a cushion, it's a margin. We don't know exactly how any given year is going to turn out. Our sales may be lower than planned, our expenses may be a little bit higher. It is important to us that we do have positive net assets, increase in net assets in any given year. So from a planning side, we do establish $50 million. Now you can see historically, some years we may be a little high, some years we may be a little low. As to our forecast this year, we think we're going to be at about $75 million. As to what happened in 2010, I'd have to look to one of the staff who was here in 2010 who could maybe speak to
But that was an anomaly.
why we had such a good year.
Okay.
I think I recall why that happened. It's related to the transfer from the other utilities as a repayment on during the energy crisis. Would that be accurate?
That's one of the factors.
Yeah.
Okay.
A receipt from Cal ISO, perhaps?
Jeff, can you shed some light on it? Because I'm pretty sure Jeff knows the answer to this number.
Jeff Peltola, Director of Financial Planning and Rates. Actually, that was an amount of cash that we received, but we had accrued that revenue earlier. So that was the final payment that we had gotten. During the year of 9-10, that was actually the last year we had a base rate increase. So if you look in, I'm not sure if it's in the financial plan, but we had a number of things that were happening. It was a very good wholesale year. If Aaron can remember back, I can't remember why that was so good, but we had a lot of sales in the wholesale side, which we don't normally plan on. But in that year, we had wholesale revenues that were about $127 million. And that's different sales that are made in the wholesale market, and that will go and help us on that increase in fund net assets.
Okay, great, thank you. Phil, could you just take us through both on the power and the water side how we're doing on our debt service coverage ratios and in terms of our bond rating, whether our metrics are appropriate under this proposed budget to go forward and support the kind of borrowing that we're going to be making over the next year?
Certainly. So the two factors that we look very importantly at when we set rates are, do we have sufficient debt service coverage, and are we targeting an appropriate net income balance? It's those two factors that really drive, in addition to the level of spending, what the rate increase will be in any given year. So on the power side and water side, the two line items that we pay particular attention to, on line 14 on the power side, you see the debt service coverage. And we aim to have debt service coverage at least 2.25 times. So as you can look ahead at the next 5 years, we are projecting to exceed that. The thing that's driving that is the other constraint that I talked about, the net income. It just so happens that the need to have $50 million there actually gives us excess debt service coverage. So in this rate plan, certainly in the year ahead and even as we look out over the next 5 years, we are meeting both of those financial planning targets to have sufficient debt service coverage and net income. On the water side, it's really the same story. If you look down at line 15, the debt service coverage target there that we're currently at is 2 times. We would be proposing to relax that on a temporary basis to 1.85 times. We will be bringing a proposal to you in the coming weeks to that effect.
Would that have any? Would that be a troubling factor with our bond ratings?
We have had discussions with our financial experts on that. The rating agencies do establish a number of metrics that they look at, and for any given rating, they say we expect to see utilities come in this particular range. So in the proposal that we would be making, we are fairly confident that that would keep us in the range we want to be.
And what is our borrowing capacity, all told, power and water?
Borrowing capacity. We want to retain our high ratings, AA rating, and there are a number of metrics that one looks at. The key one there is what is our debt to total capitalization. That's also indicated here. Currently, for example, on the power side, we're at about 56%. That's a pretty healthy number. As we look at, that's line 14. As we look ahead over the next 5 years, because of the level of capital spending that we're having to undertake, that is expected to increase. Not to an unhealthy level. We'd be going up to the mid-60% range, which is very consistent with a AA rated utility. So still in a healthy range.
Okay, thank you.
At this time, Barbara, I think we'd like to call on some of our public speakers for this item. So could you ask them to come to the podium?
Okay, the first speaker is Roxana Aguilar, and after that, Jakar Lewis.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Roxana Aguilar, and I'm with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps. And I'm here also as a member of the Repower LA campaign. Unfortunately, Jakar had to go. He's in a job training program, and he had to clock out. So, on May 9th, we hosted a Repower LA town hall at our Northeast location, and we were thrilled to have Mr. Nichols, along with Deputy Mayor Matt Sable and Councilmember Ed Reyes. Their support for the Repower LA program and energy efficiency was encouraging to our members. We have over, including alumni, we have over 500 young people that we've trained in energy efficiency, water conservation. It goes right along with all of the items that you have presented so far in terms of conserving water, conserving energy. So Repower LA has hosted several town halls across the city, turning out more than 700 community members in support of expanded investment in energy efficiency that promotes broad benefits, including the creation of good jobs, career path jobs, reduced dependency on coal power, and customer savings for small businesses and low-income residents. We are an organization, the LA Conservation Corps, that works with at-risk young adults and school-aged youth by providing them with job skills training, education, and work experience with an emphasis on conservation. We want to see IBEW Local 18's utility pre-craft training program expanded to create much-needed opportunities for community members to step into careers with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. And I can tell you that we have trained so many young people that say they want to work for the department, and they just need one step before they can actually enter into your department. So the utility pre-craft training program is the perfect program for that. We are facing a dilemma. Programs similar to ours across the city are providing necessary job skills and training for our city's youth, but we need to find them jobs, careers. So we're excited to be a part of this campaign, and we look forward to seeing the reduction of energy use throughout the city. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Jakar Lewis, and after that, Abraham Hernandez. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Abraham Hernandez, and I'm a member of SCOPE, a resident of South Los Angeles, and a Repower LA coalition member. I'm here today because I've been unemployed for over 2 years. It's getting close to 3 years now. I represent thousands of Angelinos who want to work but who have trouble finding a stable employment. The opportunities provided by the IBEW Local 18's Utility Pre-Craft Trainee Program are so great because they are not just jobs, but they provide the opportunity to a solid middle-class career. The training employees receive is top-notch, and I realize the potential that getting into the UPCT position can provide me, and energy efficiency provides the opportunity to create more UPCT programs or positions. The initial UPCT program has provided opportunity for people in need of good jobs, and we need to expand it and ensure that the LADWP focuses on job creation through energy efficiency. We have a long way to go to put everyone back to work, but we have a real opportunity to put people back to work, upgrading our homes and businesses. Work that has to be done because of state environmental mandates. Let's make sure the jobs bring prosperity to some of LA's hardest hit communities. We don't just need jobs, we need good jobs. I'm ready for that opportunity. So I'd like to thank you for your great leadership, and I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speakers, please.
The next speaker is Luis Cabrales, and after that, Yahig Kashishian.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. My name is Luis Cabrales. I am Deputy Director of Campaigns at Coalition for Clean Air, a statewide organization that's been advocating for clean air policies for more than 40 years. We at Coalition for Clean Air believe we need strong energy efficiency programs to achieve air quality. Despite air quality improvements over the past 40 years in the city of Los Angeles, we continue to have the worst air quality in the country. These air pollution costs billions of dollars each year in health services, school and work days lost. Increasing the fund for energy efficiency from $55 million to $128 million is a good investment that will pay huge dividends in terms of better public health, fewer lost work and school days, increased tourism, lower dependency on foreign oil, and job creation. We strongly encourage you to adopt a budget to increase funding for energy efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Yahig Kashishian, and after that, Miguel Luna.
Good afternoon. Yahig Kashishian, representing the Central City of Association and our 450 members, which collectively employ over 350,000 individuals throughout the region. As you consider the budget proposals before you today, we ask that you continue funding the energy conservation and efficiency programs currently offered by LADWP. These programs now, more than ever, are increasingly important as you begin to consider a new round of tax hikes on both water and power. Businesses need incentives and tools to conserve and reduce their consumption of water and power, as well as to lower their bottom line. It is our hope and that of our members that you will continue to provide the same reliable service that they have depended on. Today, as we review the items for approval on the agenda, specifically item number 13, we ask that you be mindful of the work that may be undone if the current conservation and energy efficiency programs are not funded. To bring the existing programs to a halt would not be in the interest of the business community or LADWP. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Miguel Luna, and after that, Jessica Goodhart.
Good afternoon. My name is Miguel Luna. I'm here representing two organizations. One is Urban Semillas, and the other one is the Anahuac Youth Soccer Association. The latter was funded through one of your ARA programs, and I just wanted to give you a little feedback and highlight the importance that Commissioner Parfrey pointed out about the behavioral component and how much that customer opportunity programs can really bring value to water and energy efficiency. So we did outreach to about 6,223 people with a staff of 10 in a period of 4 months, mostly reaching multifamily units. And there's a huge opportunity to go back and talk to these residents about the continued, they hear the drought is over, and so everybody returns to their usual use of water. And they really need to see people coming, talking to them about the importance of these things. They need to be given those energy efficiency kits that many of them reported they didn't receive. They need to be a part of this change of energy and water efficiency. A lot of things we touched on also was the connection between water and energy. I think that was news to a lot of people, and it was good to let people know that that's there. I'm here with a crew that's the Urban Stream crew, Urban Stream Core crew, and we're doing water quality monitoring training with very high caliber EPA certified equipment. And I'd also like to see some of those jobs lead into water quality as we have people that are looking for those sorts of jobs. Really, three additional things. One is I love to hear that you're looking at groundwater as a priority for storage. I want to close by saying, and I should have started, that I'm here to support the Repower LA campaign.
We were also part of that town hall meeting, and we were full-heartedly in support of their efforts. Just as a last pet peeve, if you would allow me, is I would really love to come back to a board meeting and see glasses of water rather than bottled water. I think it's a really good investment of just a couple dozen glasses, and I'd love to see you guys drink the water that you're telling us to drink. Yeah? Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Jessica Goodhart, and after that, Bill Galegas.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. My name is Jessica Goodhart, and I'm the Lane Director of the Repower LA project. You've heard from some of our coalition partners. Repower LA is a coalition of community residents, environmentalists, small business, working with IBW Local 18. We've been advocating for a year and a half around the idea that LA DWP and LA City can and should be a leader in energy efficiency programs that save customers money, create good career path jobs, and help us move away from coal. It's late in the afternoon. There are folks who were here and had to leave, and I just want to take this opportunity to tell you Cesaria Gonzalez, a weatherization customer, one of 3,000 that's benefited from LADWP's weatherization program from Silver Lake, was to be here and couldn't stay. Sochi, a restaurateur in Pacoima who spends over $10,000 a year on utility bills and is really struggling and would like programs to help her and her fellow businesses in the valley. Chuka, a clothing store owner in South LA, had to leave as well. Likewise, is just another voice for programs. And then Joe Donlin from SAGE, a great community organization in South LA that works with renters, also struggling like everyone in this economy. We really want to commend Ron Nichols and the department for listening to our voices in support of more programs for energy efficiency. This budget is a significant investment, and and we really applaud that. Our work is not over. We'd like to see Repower LA is organized around a set of principles that we'd like to see adopted as we move forward to ensure the broad benefits and best services to customers. We want to see, we want to work with you to ensure that tens of thousands of businesses and residents benefit from programs, particularly those struggling the most. We want our investment to translate into career path job opportunities and to build on IBW Local 18's successful utility pre-craft training program that's creating a pipeline to jobs right at a time when you're facing waves of retirement. We want to see even more ambitious energy efficiency goals. We want to work with you to get closer to 15% that reduce the need for future rate increases and reduce our dependence on dirty coal. And we want to see, we would support Commissioner Parfrey's motion to set benchmarks and report regularly on outcomes of programs that we think will help make them successful and also build goodwill with customers. So we look forward, we feel like this is the beginning of something. We look forward to working with you to put in place a plan to ensure that energy efficiency leads to broad investments, particularly at this time when customers are really struggling. Energy efficiency is the one program and initiative that's really going to help folks save money in this economy. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Bill Galegas.
Mr. Gallegos, welcome.
Buenas tardes. Thank you so much. My name is Bill Gallegos. I'm the Executive Director of Communities for a Better Environment. We're a statewide environmental justice organization, and we have worked in the harbor area for more than a decade. And our several thousand members in the harbor area are actually quite excited about this energy efficiency project because they have been totally hammered by the recession. They were hammered before the recession. Now it's even worse. There's very systemic problems, deep problems with unemployment and a lack of economic infrastructure in our communities. And they also feel like they're a particular victim of the fossil fuel energy infrastructure. We have some of the most significant health problems related to air quality and pollution in the whole region. So we feel very excited that there's something important and innovative going on in the Department of Water and Power, and that there's going to be a serious commitment to energy efficiency And this just has the potential not only for environmental benefits, for health benefits, but for also for economic benefits. Our folks really want to work. Right now, those that are working in dead-end jobs, sometimes 2 of them, sometimes 3 of them. And they really would like to see something that has a career path, that has a real meaningful impact and beneficial impact on our community, and can enable them to not only support themselves, but really provide some future for their family. So we really want to encourage you to take this step forward, to really have a really solid and clear plan for how you're going to reach your goal on energy efficiency. To increase that goal to 15%, we think it's doable. LA is in the forefront of a lot of climate and energy policy, and there's no reason we shouldn't be in the forefront around energy efficiency. I just want to as part of the Repower campaign, which we feel is a really exciting campaign, because it places not only efficiency and cost as a central value of building out our energy infrastructure and our energy policies, but equity. And we think that's a very, very important value that we'd really like to see incorporated in all the plans going forward around energy efficiency. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
That was the last card for this item.
Additional comments from the commission? Okay, we are looking at item 13, which is approving the final budget for this year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, item 13 carries unanimously. At this point, I would like for us to go to our original schedule of items, and that would lead us to item number 4, which is, Barbara, could you announce that, please?
Item number 4 is the opportunity for the public to address the board, and I do have one card.
And who is that, please?
L. Art Camarillo.
Is there someone here by that name?
Mr. Camarillo?
Mr. Camarillo?
Okay,
All right.
guess they have left.
Not
Okay.
seeing that person present. Can we go to the next agenda item, please, which is number 5?
Number 5 is contract number 966, amendment number 3.
And Mr. Moss, you had said that you wanted to pull this item, and so do you want a presentation, or would you prefer to simply ask questions of
Well,
staff?
I have one question, if I'm reading this correctly. It looks like we're being asked to amend the contract to provide for a 6-month optional period. I'm sorry, to take the second optional period to extend it for 6 months. A little confusing here. But what I'm concerned about is we're also increasing the amount of the contract in this period by nearly $7 million. Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, that's correct. What we did, this is an ED4 contract where we took a previous contract and we're taking it to City Council to extend it beyond the 3-year period to 4.5 years. To stopgap while we're trying to renew the new spec.
Okay, now, if my memory serves me correct, we were recently had passed amendment number, the board had approved amendment number 2, which was a time extension, but there were no dollars associated with it.
There was $138,000.
All
And
right.
I think in the explanation, how much was it?
We had money left over. Yeah, the reason why we didn't have any, there was actually a balance left at the time that contract was ready to expire. So we didn't need to have, we are limited to $134,700 under the 10.5. So we couldn't exceed that, and we had that left in the existing contract, so we didn't ask for any additional funds, just time.
Right. So explain to me then why we're being asked to approve $7 million for over the next 6 months.
Well, this is the replacement spec 371 is in process right now. Traditionally, this has been a contract that's been very controversial. We've had a lot of protests. We've had a lot of issues. This amount of money and time allows us to address their concerns. We've already corresponded with some of the bidders, and it will buy us time to properly renew the contract. Upon renewal of 371, this contract will cease. So it's just, that's the anticipated historic amount of money that we would need to go for 18 months. And when it's renewed, you know, then we cut it off. It could be 4 months, it could be 6 months. We really don't know. We had a lot of problems last time this contract was renewed.
So this is a stopgap to keep it moving?
Yes.
That's very funny.
Thank you.
I'm still troubled by this because this is more than half of the original contract that we're being asked to approve for a 6-month period in terms of dollars.
Actually, what we're doing is, because under 10.5, you guys are authorized to extend the contract an additional 12 months, but there's a gap of money that you can authorize, which is $134,700. This here requires your approval so we can go across the street to get the additional funding.
Yeah, but the problem is we're approving a contract for $7 million without any competitive bidding. That's the gist of this.
Well, it was competitively bid the first 3 years, so we're utilizing
Yeah, but
the
that was
same.
3 years ago.
Well, we're in the process of going through the process to get another competitively bid contract.
What is our timing on this other specification that's in process? When is that going to be completed?
Currently, that specification will close May 30th, and at that point, we've got, by the time we get a package together to bring it to the board, just depends on the number of protests. The board revisions, realistically, we might be looking at maybe August, September by the time we bring something to you guys for the first time.
And when does our current amendment number 2, when does that expire?
February.
Of 2013?
Yes.
Then you don't need us to approve this at this time.
Well, we need the funding.
Well, I'm sorry, but, you know, we have you should have come to us back when we kicked it to February and said we need more money at that time. You can't come to us now and extend it another 6 months and ask for $7 million.
Well, we asked for the amount that we could on a 10.5, and at the meantime, we're taking the ED4 process to go to City Council.
Well, all right, let me handle it this way. I move to defer this item because I think we should wait until the balance of our commission is here. This is, and there's no immediacy to do this because you've got the extension as it is now.
There's about $37,000 left in the extension. That's about a week's worth of dollars. We do have other measures. We do have other resources. We have been doing other things.
How much are you going to need over the next 30 days?
A month's worth is be about.
Think carefully because you're going to lock yourself in here.
Oh, I'm just calculating here.
Can you hold on before you answer that? Jim, I'm assuming that most of this is for your work.
I would just confirm with Aaron, we were comparing notes. I would say yes, a significant a part of it is. We've got a UV plant under construction at LA Reservoir, and more importantly, this contract basically keeps 3 of my trunk line crews working. So I got 60 people that depend on this, and pretty much without dump trucks, these guys get shut down. So I mean, you got 60 people that are depending on.
I don't want to shut you down. So, but I don't want to approve this. I mean, personally, I don't want to go for this, but I'll go for a temporary time period. How much do you need for 30 days?
That's tough to say right now.
Yeah. Right now, it's tough to say because not knowing if we're going to go beyond that. Because I've got several things going. I've got exempt workers that if I receive this funding, they would be laid off, and I wouldn't have that ability. And then if in 30 days we don't have an approved contract, we're going to have some issues.
Can I ask the city attorney a question, please? Would any extension approval that we make in this body have to go before City Council for any dollar amount?
There is a requirement, anything over 3 years. That's more than, and I forget the amount, it's probably 134,000, 134.7, would have to go to City Council. So you could extend it over 3 years if that 1 year extension was only $134,700. The 3-year stops once there's a competitive bid situation, and then it would continue for another 3 years. But basically, they're limited to that $134,700.
Right.
And it would have to go, if you didn't want to go to city council.
Adding additional funds right now is what we're trying to do. Unfortunately, it'd be nice if you were able to grant us that, but we still have to go across the street. So, and looking at the 10.5 option, we use that as a stopgap measure to ensure field services that would continue. The ED4 process is very lengthy. Unfortunately, Tom and I are a little new to that process. It's very rare that we utilize that. And going across the street, getting cooperation with the CAO's office, having these letters revised, and just to get the permission to come back here, it took almost 3 months. So we really were trying to get here, mindful of, we don't like bringing these things.
I understand, but there was no discussion of this when we approved the amendment last time.
It was in the board letter stating of what we were doing.
That you're going to come back for $7 million?
That we were processing an ED4 for additional time and funds.
Commissioner, there's a disconnect here, and I think what is of concern is the fact that approvals may not happen as quickly. The new RFP may not get resolved as quickly. We've had historic problems with regard to this in the past. We've had protests related to this. It has always been a troubled procurement. We talked a fair amount about this last week internally as we were looking at this. My recommendation, and I guess I would like, I'll ask you guys to tell me if this is a problem. I think there is a chance, and Jim, I guess I'd be interested in Jim and Aaron, your thoughts on this as well. This could drag out longer than we expect. I don't think there's any way in the world that we would need that much funding, because I don't anticipate it could drag on that long. This would be at the burn rate that you've done in the past. This would take many, many, many months to require that $7 million. But it would seem to me that something on the order of $2 million would get us through a reasonable period of time. We push through this RFP as quickly as we can. We are subject to a number of months of potential uncertainty based on the history of this procurement. But I guess I'm asking on the fly here from our staff if a $2 million level of effort would buy you the time necessary that gives you the comfort and a window to be able to get this done and get the new competitive bid completed or not. So I would ask you to confer among yourselves a moment. It's a little bit unorthodox, but looking at the burn rate, that seems to me that would give you the headroom that you might need.
Can we suspend this item for a few minutes and allow staff to confer and come back? Is that permissible?
Of course.
Mr. Chairman,
Well,
can we do that?
I'm concerned about this. I mean, I know that this, having these dump trucks is sort of a linchpin, and if we don't have it, there are a number of our operations that simply, cease to function. And we're under a number of mandates and timelines, and let alone staffing and efficiencies, that I would not like to see the operations hindered in any way from going forward. So, I don't know if I'm comfortable with just the $2 million. I think we need a cushion. And so my argument would be for a little bit more, just to make sure that we get through these times. Because I recall that this is a highly contentious contract, and with a number of protests, a number of appeals, I would like to see us provide a cushion for the department to be able to do what it has to do.
I would like to restate that, yes, this is for an 18-month period, $7 million, but as soon as that new spec is established, this is terminated. So whether it's in 3 months, and it states it in the board letter, 3 months, 6 months, we just don't want to have to come back here again in another situation.
You were creating a cushion.
Exactly. But
foreseeing the controversy that's associated with this.
Yeah, the other thing is, this was a very competitively bid contract. Our average rates are $65 an hour for a 3-axle dump truck. Currently, the county rate is $87.50. So we're getting dump trucks at almost $22 an hour cheaper than the going rate for the county. And if you, by the way, the owner of Keep It Moving, the current contractor, is in the audience today. I asked him to be here, so if you guys have any questions for him, he's available for any questions.
The other thing I'd like to point out, too, is the number of subcontractors he uses that are within, that they're local, within the city and the county. He uses 92. He's got 91% that are within the MeeBee-Weebee program. So it's a tremendous amount of contractors and business people that he's impacting with this, and he's been very successful. So that's something that is actually very positive with this program.
Yeah, these dollars go, I mean, these are city residents for the most part working here. They go right back into the city.
So there are no escalations under this amendment then?
No.
You can't charge a higher rate if this goes out another year or something like that?
The only thing that's in here is there's some clauses for fuel prices, which were in the original.
But there's no escalation in the contract.
But there's no rating increase in the hourly rate.
And there's also no minimum commitment. And the contractor is aware of that. So if we are able to establish a new contract within 60 days, it will be terminated.
And
he's
there
agreed
is
to
the
that.
possibility that the new contract with the new spec, that price might come in higher, too.
It's quite possible. This was established 3 years ago.
All right.
We've done several things to try to get that new spec awarded. We've had several different amendments to make it more user-friendly and responding to the different issues that have come up. So I think we're pretty confident that we will be able to get that through, but historically, we were confident before and ended up in the same situation.
Can you provide some more detail as to why this contract and former contracts with this entity have been so contested?
I have to leave that over to you.
You know, why it has, I can't really speak why. I think it's the trucking industry was deregulated by the PUC several years ago, so it became an open and competitive process. And right now, dump trucks they're dependent on construction. And I think what it is it's very slow out there right now, and people are coming in and they're really fighting for the work. This is a very lucrative contract. This is something we probably, as far as the 3-axle dump truck contract goes, in the city of Los Angeles, this is the best place to work. We're the most consistent because the economy is so bad. So people really want this. And a lot of people can do this work. Truck driving, 3-axle dump truck work is not very specialized, like crane work or even backhoe work. So there's a lot of people that can put in for this. So I think it's our bidders conference, we had a room full of people. A lot of people are interested in this, and I think that's the reason it's very contested. They all want a piece of the action, but not everybody can deliver, as we've seen in the past.
Aaron?
I was going to mention, I mean, if this is the details behind this contract, we can talk about it. But one thing, we have several projects going right now that this will be impact. But more concerning is if we have any emergencies that we have to respond, we basically tap into these kind of contracts to kind of ramp up rapidly and respond. So I just want to bring that up because just in case something happens, that I know it's tough on the commissioners to kind of take this at this time, but I think that's something that we rely on very heavily when we respond to emergencies, you know, tower lines down, anything that we do.
I was just going to add that we got some emails about listing the projects. There's a number of projects, some chloramination stations, the UV plant that I mentioned, several of the trunk lines that are associated with the water quality compliance program. I've been really hammering my staff hard the fact that the City Council was thoughtful enough to grant us this 35-cent a billion unit rate increase to pay for these water quality projects. I've been telling my staff there can be no excuse for us now falling behind in these projects. We need to be able to execute. Without this contract, it's going to severely hamper our ability to go forward. I think these gentlemen have done some research, and they've checked the prices against what the market price is out there on the county. Whether maybe we could get lower prices, as Aram said, they could come in higher prices. I don't think we're getting gouged on this contract. They seem to be fair prices. I would ask the board's indulgence on this one just to kind of keep us going on this thing.
Mr. Moss, are you feeling indulgent?
I'm always indulgent. What I would like to do is put something in the resolution that speeds up the RFP that's out there, so that we're not looking at just approving a $7 million contract here that's a no-bid contract. So we know that there's reporting back to the board saying this is the progress of the RFP, this is what's happening, this is when we're going to be done with it.
I think that's a very good, friendly amendment. So do you want to be precise in the language that you would suggest associated with that?
Precision.
I will state that we have been given a directive from RJHM that this is number one priority to move this thing. So this is all the way up into purchasing, the level of priority to try to get these this ROA, the recommendation of award, and the transmit on the whole process expedited. So they've been very good about doing this. So
well, then there won't be a conflict with the
exactly.
commissioner's
I just want to
amendment.
let you know we're already trying to be proactive, and it's already been heightened to that level.
Yeah, we're on a regular.
Okay. Well, then let me I'll make a motion to approve the resolution, but with the amendment that that the board be kept apprised of the progress of the RFP. What's the RFP number?
Specification 371.
371, that we be kept apprised of the progress of specification 371 at each of our upcoming board meetings until the specification is passed. So I want a separate report just on this specification and where we're at on it until it's completed.
Commissioner Noonan, do you find this to be an acceptable amendment?
I do.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, hearing no objections, the item passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next item, please.
Item number 6, spec number 7404.
And Mr. Moss, would you appreciate a presentation or?
Wow.
Which one is this? Is this the MOU? No, I'm sorry. Is this the Castaic Power Plant?
This is Castaic.
May I interject just for a moment?
Yes.
I don't know if you recall seeing this this item on last month's agenda, and I was also going to pull it because we did receive correspondence from one of the bidders, and I did ask the department to follow up on some of the comments that were made by this bidder, but I have not received any kind of follow-up from the department. So my tendency is not to move forward with approving it until we have answers to those questions that were outlined by the client, or the bidder, rather.
Yeah, and my question was focusing on the 27-minute lateness on the part of the bidder and as the reason why they were disqualified, if I understood my board letter correctly.
Commissioner Noonan, are you suggesting that we take up this item at a later meeting?
Yes.
All right. Is there a motion associated with that?
Before you take a motion, then I'm not quite sure what took Aram out right now, but I would like to make certain, with respect to the urgency of this item, if there's someone here on behalf of Power, to make sure we have that input.
Oh, he's back. That's what you get for running out of the room.
I'm going to ask Commissioner Noonan to repeat her statement regarding a prior request associated with this item and the lack of response from the department.
Yes, I stated that I'm not comfortable moving forward once again with this item because there were comments, I don't want to use the word allegations, but there were inaccuracies from what you provided to what one of the bidders outlined. And I think that kind of situation is very serious, and especially in terms of being transparent and making sure that we are approving RFP bids that are just and fair. I forwarded that correspondence at the last meeting and asked for the department to address those questions and comments that had been provided by the bidder, but I have not received any kind of response from the department. So I kind of feel like I'm in the same position I was the last time you presented this, in that without really having answers to those questions, I just don't feel comfortable moving forward.
We have, I'm not sure if it's in your package, but we've put in the responses to every question they had on there.
In here? It's not on.
Oh.
No, I didn't get a copy of it.
Green folder.
I didn't get it there either. Did either of you get it?
Can I don't recall.
I went through my folder. I don't have.
I have a copy on. No, I'm sorry if it's not in your packet, but we have responded to every question that they had in the email. If you want, I can go through it.
I would like to review that actually with some time.
We're going to ask to suspend this item till later in our agenda, and we will take this up later. Barbara, next item.
That'd be item number 7, MOU with California Department of Fish and Game.
And Mr. Moss, I believe this is you.
Mr. Adams.
Sure.
Why is this necessary?
I mean, why doesn't Fish and Game just absorb these costs themselves?
That's precisely it.
But
before you answer, this is where I'm coming from.
Okay.
And this is what my concern is. Are we just, because CDFG is short on money, are we now providing money for CDFG?
It's a little more than that. You know, they are cut back like every state agency, and we have an increasing number of projects in the Eastern Sierra. We really rely on their participation as a partner and their assistance in the projects. Not only the projects you're familiar with at Owens Lake, there's issues in Mono Basin, there's issues with Mammoth Creek, there's the Owens Lake Master Plan, there's a regular permitting, and a number of dam reconstruction projects are coming up, and their ability to perform their staff function is critical to our success in a timely fashion. They are facing the same budget restrictions everyone is in terms of staffing, and we're requiring more than ever before. It's not unusual for us to have to pay for a regulating agency. We're familiar with Great Basin. Department of Public Health actually bills us hourly.
Yeah, it's worked out real well with them, hasn't it?
Well, we're hoping to change that a little bit. But the Department of Public Health bills us hourly for their oversight over Department of Water and Power, as they do the other agencies. We entered into a GM agreement last year with Fish and Game. It's been tremendously successful, where they've been able to hire someone who's dedicated to our needs. It's been so successful at Owens Lake that people involved with other projects in the Eastern Sierra are trying to pull on that avenue. Fish and Game would like to continue with that person on board and hire another person, recognizing the support that we're going to require. We probably have unprecedented cooperation right now between the agencies. And if, like I say, no matter how many people we put on a job, if we can't have them perform their critical functions, our work can't move ahead. So that's why we really feel we need this.
Okay, you've answered my question. Thank you.
I'd actually to add on to that, have you add on to this a little bit. Is your experience been, when we're working with Department of Fish and Game, that they're very task oriented? They lay things out with respect to the specific activities that they need to do. They're asking us for funds only for those things that they need to do related to our activities?
Yes, this is set up so they will bill us. And I mean, ideally, they'll put people dedicated just to us. That's their goal, is to be able to hire people for that. But they will bill us according to the activities associated directly with supporting us.
I'm fine with that.
Is there a motion?
I move for approval.
Second.
Thank you.
Hearing no objections, item passes. Next item, please. I believe
Item number 8, water supply assessment for the Millennium Hollywood project, and I do have a speaker card.
can you call the speaker, please, and see if they would like to speak before or after the presentation?
The speaker is Rosemary DeMonte.
Still here.
Thank you for coming. And Ms. DeMonte, would you like to address the board before or after the presentation?
I think I better do it before.
All right. So please step to the podium. Welcome.
Okay, I'm here as a citizen and a resident of the Hollywood Community Plan and a person who is a DWP ratepayer. And I have been sitting here, and having waited this long, it's been very educational, by the way, to learn that 2/3 of our water is going to have to be paid for, and we're going to have to pay dearly for that privilege. And not only that, we have to pay a great deal to get rid of it, too, dispose of it, with the sanitation fees. And so it's really very aggravating, and I'm kind of mad that we're going to be sacrificing, and you're going to then tell us that you have all this water for this monstrosity project in Hollywood that is dwarfing anything that ever existed in the town. I wish I'd brought the picture. The Capitol building is only 12 stories high. The tower that will be obliterating its view from everybody will be up to 50 stories high. Skinny, but high. And it has, I know the job mantra that you'll have, that it's all, construction workers and blah, 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 and the jobs that'll be left behind. But I don't think that construction workers will be city residents. The majority of them will not live in the city of Los Angeles. The jobs that will be left behind with this building are commercial, retail, hotel workers. They won't even ever afford to live in this construction at all. The building, the streets around it cannot support the traffic of it. The public safety issues are ridiculous. How can you say that we should be giving these people water? First of all, is this building even LEED Gold to be able to justify its existence and its monstrosity? So I'm not against development. Let's just make it smaller, maybe 1/3 the size, please, for all of us, and don't compound the grid's needs that you say you can't repair. Okay?
Thank you very much for coming and presenting. And Jim, I think you're up, right?
Yeah, I think it's important just to provide a little bit of context on the purpose and the process for the water supply assessments. This is a process that's been required by state law for projects above a certain size, certain threshold, to submit the project plans to the water agency to ensure that the plans are consistent with the overall water planning envelope, if you will, of the water utility. This is a necessary step on the way towards the developer preparing their environmental impact report. I think many of the issues that the speaker brought up will need to be addressed in the environmental impact report. However, our role in this is limited to analyzing what the water consumption is for the project, what the consumption is on the existing land, kind of what the difference is, making sure that that the developer is proposing to use best available technologies for conservation and that sort of thing, and that's what we've done. So I don't think a lot of the issues that the commenter raised are within our purview. And I do have Delon Kwan here. He prepared the report. If you have specific questions about the report, he's available.
I'll turn to my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Noonan, do you have questions regarding this item?
No, I think that the developer is not only meeting with the mandated guidelines, but they're doing more. So I'm very comfortable in moving this agenda item forward.
Mr. Moss?
I just have more of a general question. Do we have a running tally of all of our WSAs? And, I imagine there's a finite amount of water that we can allocate. Are we benchmarking or doing something to make sure that we don't bump up against our limits or something along those lines?
Yes, we do keep track of all of our...
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Delon Kwan with the Water Resources Division, responsible for water supply assessments. We do keep track of all the approvals that the board takes on water supply assessments, and we have been tracking it since the beginning. So we do have a tally year to year if you want to know what those numbers are.
Yeah, I'm curious. Is that discussed in the WSA?
I think our tally is not discussed in WSA, but WSA does make an assessment when we do make a recommendation for approval that it is consistent with the current adopted urban water management plan, making sure that there's enough supplies to meet all the forecasted projections and demands by the city, and in addition to the specific project that's being requested.
All right, that's it.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Mr. McDaniel was saying, is that the scope of our decision here is not to talk about traffic. It's not to talk about the height of the building. It's to do one thing and one thing only, which is to see if the developer is doing water conservation and stormwater capture and best management practices associated with their water use. And I agree with Commissioner Noonan that they've gone above and beyond on those particular issues. On those other questions, that is someone else's domain. So is there a motion associated with this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, the item passes. Thank you very much. Next agenda item, please.
Item number 11, which is issuance of up to $322 million of water supply revenue bonds.
Mr. Christopher, if we could, before you go on to that item, a suggestion for you, and that is, since we're on the we're now going on the regular agenda, and you were on this one item with respect to the Castaic.
Yes.
You're asking for some additional feedback on that.
Yes.
I believe that we have Mr. Benjamin and I spoke during the discussion here, and we do have adequate time to put this off to the next board meeting.
Okay.
It is my understanding that you did not receive at all prior to this meeting, apparently, this explanation.
Right?
I don't believe the other commissioners did as well.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what happened with regard to that. I think we owe you an explanation in response to the request you gave. We have time to do that, we can get that information. In fact, I actually think I think there's some better information even more than we can give on this. And my understanding is we do have time to be able to put this off to the next meeting.
I apologize you didn't get it. It should have been transmitted to you so we can have a discussion here. So we'll get the memo to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so do we need a motion to defer?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Barbara, can you repeat the title of the item that we are deferring, please?
Okay, item number 11, which is issuance of up to $322 million of water system revenue bonds.
All right, so we are unanimous in our decision to defer that item.
No, we're not deferring that.
No.
No, we're deferring Castaic.
Can you repeat the item associated with the Castaic item?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were telling me.
No.
Okay.
No.
Item 6.
So you're talking about item number 6, which
Yeah,
is
the
spending for
reconstruction of
7404.
Castaic power plant.
Okay.
Access road.
We are unanimous in our decision to defer item 6.
And I apologize again.
Thank you.
And now we are on item number 11, which is the authorization to issue $322 million of fixed-rate water system revenue bonds for capital improvements. And Jim, are you taking this on, or who's presenting? Phil?
Okay.
All right.
So we're going to be bringing for your attention and decision a number of bond offerings during the upcoming fiscal year. One new money water issuance, which is what this is. We'll also be looking at a number of refunding opportunities and new money and refunding opportunities for power as well. But in terms of water, this is an essential funding mechanism to fund our $630 million capital budget for the next year. That will be funded both directly from rates and through this bond offering. So this will fund just over 50% of the program. We are looking to start the transaction in June and close and receive our money in August. We'll be bringing the particulars of the transaction back to you after the approval of this initial resolution through a supplemental resolution which would lay out the underwriting team and additional details about the transaction. But we have for your consideration here today this initial resolution to authorize up to $322 million of bonds.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no objections, item passes. Item 12, please.
Item number 12 is Resolution 4847, establishing a declaration of official intent.
Do my fellow commissioners have questions associated with this item?
None for me.
Neither do I.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no objection, item 12 passes. Moving on, next agenda item, I believe, is item 15.
Okay, item 15, I do have 3 speaker cards.
Can you, who are the speakers, please?
We have Michelle Varakian.
She is left.
She's left. Kent Minalt.
He is left.
Is left. And Michael Winters.
He is here.
Okay.
Mr. Winters, would you care to present? Or would you prefer to hear the presentation first?
No, that's okay. Straightforward. In the residential piece, you specifically talk about behavioral. Being an educator, one of the elements of the energy piece that we were talking about, specifically in HVAC, would have a huge educational outreach component part. 18,900 elementary school students, 8,550 middle school students, 10,065 high school students. When we talk about that, that's what we call systemic change. Additionally, the project-based learning piece and the service learning piece will extend beyond just the scope of this by creating literally 496 roots and shoots groups in Los Angeles Unified School District for ongoing work in environmental, human, and animal related activities. One of the environmental values that we talk about in terms of the AB 32 aspect, when I was giving the kind of dynamics of the water usage and the electricity consumption, when we look at the 88 megawatts of the retrofit component part that you guys have so well put in place in terms of the HVAC program incentives for installation, efficiency, equipment, retro commissioning, one of the things that I really want you to do is look at something that hasn't really been addressed on the energy efficiency piece, but once again putting that energy water nexus into play, especially with a 54-cent increase. Not only am I a maven on the electricity related to maybe LAUSD, but I happen to have a thing or two about knowledge in terms of water in LAUSD. 43 young people basically did a study that was presented to the LADWP in 2009 about 5,333 high flush toilets that have never been replaced in Los Angeles Unified School District. Not only that, but we also identified a number of issues related to the irrigation systems in Los Angeles Unified School District. But we also found something that's an anomaly that no one had ever thought of, but we actually have looked at. And that is, we have quantified explicitly that all of those 1.5 gallon flush toilets that were installed 3 years ago, nobody thought to think that the diaphragms and the vacuums in those wear out, just like an oil filter does, an air filter does, or a belt does in a car. So all of those 1.5 flush toilets are no longer 1.5 flush toilets guaranteed, because we have timing on 22,000 devices in Los Angeles Unified School District in regards to 120 school sites, specifically middle schools and high schools. When we talk about green job opportunities for those young people that were here, let me tell you something. By the time you get done replacing all the diaphragms in every toilet in Los Angeles Unified School District, it's like painting fences in Kentucky. They're going to start back at the first ones and redo them again. And so when we look at opportunities for green jobs, it may be a toilet technician replacing that, but it is significant in terms of water consumption in Los Angeles Unified School District. So one of the things that I really want to always maintain is the water energy nexus, that you guys really keep that focus in play. And looking at your budget, I really didn't see any numbers in your water conservation in terms of spending money for incentives. I know you got a lot of incentives in place, but not specifically maybe for Los Angeles Unified School District. But I really do encourage you guys to, as you're looking at customer performance, specifically on the non-residential side, take that into consideration, look at those things, and hopefully that will be very good. All right, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Winters. And is there any comments from the commission? Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm here again. I have some real problems with this resolution. Not the concept. We've already been over this many, many times today, and I think we're all in agreement. It's a wonderful thing. I'm very supportive. I'm assuming we're talking about the $127 million allotment that we approved in the budget, but I will point out that in this resolution, both in the board letter and in the resolution themselves, there is no discussion of dollars. There's no indication of how much the rebates are going to be for each of these programs, and there's nothing associated in terms of how much of the $127 million is being spent on the various programs. This is basically a lovely laundry list. I support it, but I can't vote for this because there's nothing attached to it. Hold on, one second.
Understood.
And I'm doing this not just for formal reasons or to be, a hard case about it, but I can tell you, having used the energy efficiency programs of DWP, I know that oftentimes the rebates are not enough to really justify the hassle that there is in applying for the program. So my concern is that, yeah, it's great if we, for public purposes or publicity, say we've got these great rebate programs, but if the rebates are too low and they're not meaningful, they're not going to act as an incentive for people to actually use them. So I feel that it's my obligation, role as a commissioner, to understand, what are we talking about in terms of the specific dollars for these programs. So that's kind of my speech, and I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Sedlacek?
And I could provide a little context of what it's intended for, and then we could go back and add more information to it if needed. But currently, the way the rebates are paid is under a $1 million trust fund, a rolling trust fund. And what happens, from my understanding, is we have to wait till the money is reimbursed through accounts payable. So usually by the 21st of the month, the funds run out, so the rebates stop. So this was intended to provide an alternative mechanism where when invoices are received and we've verified it and we do a request for payment, it goes directly to accounts payable. So it'd speed up the rebate process only. That's all this was intended for, was to expedite the process.
Just as a point of clarity, this is not establishing any new budget.
No, I understand.
For that.
I'm just saying
it's an internal mechanism associated with how the rebates are actually processed and paid.
And there is about a year and a half ago.
So let's look at the resolution, and maybe you can tell me where the language in the resolution is that says this.
The previous resolution, and this goes back to 2002, it's the third whereas, approved just energy efficiency programs in general. What my understanding is, it didn't include a mechanism where we could pay off that resolution. And there's a separate trust fund that's set up for it. And what I understand from the staff is that's been an ongoing chronic problem of being able to pay rebates quickly. So this was just a mechanism to speed up how we pay outside companies or residents.
And that's fine. I have no problem with that, but it does go on to say, to draw demands, and I'm reading the first, be it resolved, to draw demands upon the Power Revenue Fund in payment of the obligations arising under this resolution. Well, those obligations are not anywhere enumerated.
I guess they would be enumerated or spelled out in the budget. When the budget's approved for energy efficiency for $120 million, that's what would be.
But how much for each program, though, and what are the rebate structures? I mean, I don't want to approve this and then never see the energy efficiency program again and never have an opportunity to talk or weigh in upon how the program is structured.
What's the timing on this, Ron? Do we need to approve this right away?
We can wait.
No, we can wait on this.
But
I really want to make certain I'm fully understanding the Commissioner's question.
The objectives of this program, which is to empower the financial office of DWP to be able to offer these rebates. It has not been clearly enunciated in the resolution that is the purpose of this particular item. And so it's, hearing Commissioner Moss, what I would ask is that we send this back and it come back in a clearer, more eloquent version.
We will reword the resolution to make it clearer what actual approval we're looking for. That's not requesting approval of individual programs and measures. It's approval of a mechanism by which, once programs are approved, how it's prosecuted and who has the right to actually sign it. We can, and
then at some point,
I would agree with you. I think in the context of the totality of the board letter, I believe it's clear. Taken by itself, the resolution itself is not.
Okay.
And we can make.
And then also,
we can make that clear, and this is not going to be a problem to defer this to a subsequent meeting.
Okay. And it's my understanding that at a subsequent time we'll get into how much is being funded for each of the programs and the details of how much the rebates are and all that.
Yes, but that's not relevant to this item.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right.
Okay.
As long as we know that. Is there a motion to defer?
So moved.
Second.
we are deferring item number 15. Next item, please.
Item number 16, filed items.
Thank you. Are there questions from the commission related to item 16? Hearing no questions, we will deem them filed. Next item, please.
That would be to go into closed session.
Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, Mr. President. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with Section 54-957.1 of the California Government Code.
Thank you very much. We will now go into closed session.
Where are we going? Are we doing it here?
Stay here.